Well, hello everyone. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever part of the world you are. I know that there are some attendees who are from Asia or Saudi Arabia or maybe Turkey. Welcome to the very first California Bay Area Chapter Spring Virtual Conference 2021. I am Glenn Ryan Alejandro, CATESOL Bay Area Chapter Coordinator and Chair of the Conference Committee. On behalf of the CATESOL Bay Area Chapter Board, I would like to welcome you all to today's conference. The theme of this year's Spring Virtual Conference is addressing equity and diversity for online language teaching, which is very much timely and relevant to our current situation as English language educators. I am very pleased to let you know that today we've got 6 speakers who would be sharing with us their expertise about our theme based on their research, experience, and best teaching practices. So without further ado, let's get started. I have the great honor and privilege to present to you our plenary speaker for today's conference. A well-respected educator, Dr. Sedique Popal, has trained ESL, EFL teachers in English and applied linguistics across Afghanistan, Pakistan, Korea, China, and Germany since 1980. He has been an integral faculty member in the University of San Francisco School of Education, Department of International and Multicultural Education, particularly the Master of Arts in Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages program since 1993. His published research in bilingual education, linguistic code switching, has contributed significantly to scholarship in this field. He is regularly invited as a featured speaker at national and international conferences such as TESOL, CATESOL, NABE, and CABE. And today we are very much privileged to have him as our speaker for our chapter conference. Recognition of his teaching includes Outstanding Educator Award at the University of San Francisco, Teacher of the Year Award at the College of Alameda, and Honored Instructor at the University of California, Berkeley. He also serves on the advisory board for St. Mary's College's graduate TESOL program and UC Berkeley's TESOL certificate program. Dr. Popal is a member of the board of directors of Korean Center in San Francisco. He is the author of a grammar book for teachers, which will be released by the end of this month, something we should be very excited about. And currently, he is working on his second book on lesson planning and something we should be more excited about. As a former student of Dr. Popal in the MA Consult program at the University of San Francisco, I have known him as a very busy yet very energetic professor. He is an educator whose passion for teaching is extremely contagious, and I am infected. He is an epitome of a dedicated teacher, a great role model to be emulated by all. Above all, he is a person of integrity, kindness, compassion, and empathy. My fellow Katisolers, colleagues, and attendees, please join me in welcoming Dr. Sadiq Popal.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I wish I were in person that I could have used multiculturalism to show respect and bow and do everything possible to show my respect to all of you. But thank you very much for this very generous introduction. And I would like to also welcome you all to the Bay Area Chapter CATESOL Conference. And I would like to also thank Glenn, not just for this great introduction that you gave me today. Thank you very much. But also Glenn and his team, Dr. Didam Ikichi and Koi, and also Tammy for coordinating this conference. And as you know, coordinating a conference takes an enormous amount of time and energy. And I really commend you for the amount of work that you put into this and for your leadership and currency in the field. Also, this morning, I'm also very happy, not just because I'm the plenary speaker, but also because I see a lot of my students as my former students that they are attending the conference, and there are others that they are also presenting in the conference. And of course, I already mentioned those that they are coordinating a conference. So this gives me special joy to see the success of these students, because again, this shows their commitment to excellence in education, and it shows their commitment and dedication to the field. And I really, really appreciate that. And that's what a teacher, a professor dreams, to see students successful, to see that they are selfless. They are in the business of giving. That's what education is. Education is an act, and teaching and education is an act of love and an act of giving. And I think all of you here, especially the presenters and coordinators, they just show that. It's a business of giving. They give and give and give and share. So the topic of today's conference is that concerns online teaching. And this online teaching, as most of you may know, is not within my area of expertise. But the issue of equity, diversity concerns all of us. And we all should do everything we can to address equity and diversity, not only in online education, but in every sectors of education. This is something that concerns all of us, and we should be all concerned with it. Online education used to be only for, let me share my screen here before I get too excited about speaking here. I usually forget things. So online education used to be for a few that they could afford it. It was expensive, it used to be expensive. It was for those that they were computer savvy. They just like to push buttons and make things happen. And also, it was also for those that they had an impossible schedule to pursue their dream of furthering their education. But COVID-19 changed everything. And and basically everybody went on to online, not because they wanted it, it's because of the change that it brought. The fact that over 130 million people got COVID-19 all over the world, the fact that close to 3 million people died because of COVID-19 in the world, the fact that 31 million people got COVID-19 in the US, and from the 31 million, over 500,000 people died in the US alone. So all of this moved our classes online, and most of there are different platforms, but a lot of people took advantage of the Zoom platform, and that's what we are doing right now, using the Zoom platform to deliver and to share and to communicate. And overnight, more than 1 billion students in 86 different countries were affected by this school closures, and they all moved online. But of course, online doesn't mean that it is going to be, everything will be going to be, easy, and everything is going to be delivered without any difficulty. It had its own issues, and it still does. First, not having access to technology. Millions and billions of people around the world, they do not have access to technology. So technology is something simple like a laptop, like an iPad, like a smartphone, like a desktop. They don't have it. So if they don't have it, they can't benefit from this. So a lot of people, there was a divide. And this divide is because of lack of having access to the technology. Then those that they had access to technology, they had all of these gadgets, but there was not a reliable internet. So there was a pause in their education. We usually see what's happening in this country, which is the superpower and one of the most advanced countries in the world. But I'm talking about this to countries that they don't have power, electricity. And then, so how, when the school is closed, education is closed. So a lot of people were deprived. And the other thing is, those that they had everything, they had the technology, they had the computer, but they didn't have the knowledge of how to participate in digital learning. That was another thing, that a number of people were deprived from education. And I see this here in this country, in my communities here in the East Bay, that the students, that they have the technology, they have access to the internet, but they don't have the space, or not enough space, to sit down in a corner, because so many people sharing a 2-bedroom apartment in a tiny place, and 4 or 5 of them need to be educated. And it's very difficult to find a space, a quiet space to get educated. So this has its own issues. But sometimes the challenge may be because of what I just listed over here, but also it may be because of other things. It's because that the online classes, or the people that they were running the online classes, that I may be included in that one too, that they could not deliver the right way. And that's why some people did not learn. When this COVID-19 happened, everything, as I said, just changed overnight. I was one of those people who was challenged to teach online, to use Zoom without any prior experience. So I had to take courses. So I basically ended up taking 9 online courses and training session in order to prepare myself to teach my classes, graduate level classes, and 2 different institutions I teach, at UC Berkeley and USF, to, 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 to offer these courses in a timely, in a way that students could benefit. I benefited from a lot of these classes, but there were classes, there were presenters, there were professors that they really could have benefited from some tips on how to teach, basically. And if they learn some of the principles that all of us in this group, in this community, that we just communicating with one another, what we call it the TESOL principles, teaching English to speakers of other languages. If these people had used some of these principles, they could have delivered the materials a lot more successfully. So what I'm going to do is to remind you what these principles are. And regardless of whether you teach English as a second foreign language, or whether you teach a content area, or whether you teach a university level course or an adult education course, non-credit ESL, English as a foreign language, this principle will stand and will help you and help the other instructors, because a lot of you here are in the business of teacher training too. So it's a good reminder that these principles will work. The first and most important principle, and I'm not that smart to come up with all these principles. I've looked at the literature and I've put these principles together, and not all of you will agree with the number of principles I have. You may shorten it, you may make it longer, or I've collapsed some of the principles, but anyhow. So the first principle, I think, based on my experiences of, as Glenn kindly mentioned, of teaching and training teachers in 6 different countries and 3 different continents, is the first principle, I believe, is Dr. Barry McLaughlin's from UC Santa Cruz, that he believes that human beings are limited capacity processors. And this is a very important statement. And remember, please don't misunderstand. He doesn't say that human beings are limited in any way. He just says that they are limited capacity processors, meaning that they can take so much information at one time and process it. If you overwhelm the learner, then they don't learn. So his suggestion is what? Chunk the information. I think he was the person who came up with this term, chunking. So when we teach, and that's why I was left out. The people who came in those classes I'm complaining about, and I was thinking of all my experiences of online when I put these principles together, was because these people came and they overwhelmed us. Everything that they learned in 4 years of computer education, they summarized it in 40 minutes and to people that they didn't have computer background. So chunking is the more important, and don't overwhelm the learner. And Dr. McLaughlin, in addition to saying that, chunk the information, he also says that routinize the learning, meaning you give people a routine to practice, practice, practice. First, give them a little bit, not too much. And what little bit you give them, help them hear it, help them see it, help them do it, help them share it. So by seeing, doing, sharing, and hearing, the chances are that that chunk that you give him, that person may be able to internalize. So it's not going to happen overnight. Yes, there's so much information on internet and books. Can we present all of it to our learners? What is the benefit of covering so much and the students do not get as much of it as possible? So chunk, and then help the learner to use different modalities to internalize it. That's what he suggests. And then there is another leader in this field, and his name is Steve Krashen. I'm sure all of you have heard of him. And he comes up with the comprehensible input that whatever you teach, whether you teach ESL, EFL, VESL, ESP, IEP program, or a content area, don't forget I+1 principle. And that simply means current level of competence, one level above it. And for that, you need to know who the students are, what their backgrounds are, where did they learn English, how much English they know, what are their first languages. So that's what Dr. Brown, Douglas Brown's bring into this from from San Francisco State University. So I put those principles, basically those two things together. The Dr. Krashen comes up with I+1, and Dr. Douglas Brown says what? You need to know the students, because if you don't know the students, you don't know how to make it I+1. Your knowledge of the student's background, the level of proficiency could all help you to come up with I+1. So that's what he suggests. And then we have another leader in the field from Canada, Dr. Swain. She believes that, yes, you can give the input to your students for the rest of your life. Will they just learn if you just give them input? Go ahead, give input. No, she believes that input is necessary, but it's not enough. We need to help the students to have what? Output. So that's why she came up with this output hypothesis, that we need to provide output, give them opportunities. And this person is Meryl Swain. I don't know whether you could see the pictures, but in the my screen, your pictures cover the pictures of these leaders, but that's the, I don't know what you see there or not. But anyhow, so she believes that what? While input is very, very important and necessary, it's the output. So these are extreme theories. If you always push for output without giving input, it will not help. And if you always give input with no output, it's not going to help. And if you look at an analogy of listening to songs, probably all of us, I listen to songs all the time. I'm sure that all of you listen to songs all the time. But can you sing as beautifully as the singers that you like? It's because you never practice. You always enjoy to get this input and enjoy what you hear. But it's the output, the practice of what you hear that could help. So these are two extreme theories, but I will come at the end, which is what? To be in the centrist. We don't have to go this extreme. So input, but what kind of input is also important? And Dr. Krashen emphasized it. It has to be I+1, meaning current level of competence plus one level above it. If you do it that way, they will learn. If you give them output, everything will change. The other principle that I would like to bring to your attention is also Dr. Krashen's principle, and that is the affective filter or anxiety level, that students will learn best if they physically and emotionally feel comfortable. If they are anxious, uncomfortable, scared, they will not learn. It's just a fact of life. All of us here, I mean, sometimes somebody tells you something, but you're in a state of mind. In your first language, you're going to remember what the person said. What is
No, I'm not. I'm taking this off.
learning in a second language? So lowering affective filter is another important thing. So Dr. Krashen comes with a lot of ideas of how you can make students emotionally and physically comfortable. And there's a lot of literature on this, but I believe the most important thing is this: honor what students bring in their classes. And 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 what do students bring to their classes? They bring their home languages and home cultures. We need to find a way that students feel welcome in our classes, that their languages, their cultures, their traditions are honored, that we are not pushing one culture or tradition over the other one, that they are of equal importance. Their presence will enrich our classes. So we need to find ways to do that. If they feel comfortable that way, then the chances are that they will learn if we follow all other principles. And also, the other important thing is we need to do everything possible to make our students feel successful, that they feel that what? Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. And how do you do that? And that means as practice for our classes is that in the literature I read now, if you say the word mechanical, people just their blood pressure goes up because of what mechanical is bad. Mechanical drill, bad, bad. Well, mechanical is bad. I know if it's just the only thing you do. But the purpose of mechanical drill is what? To give the students a feeling of success because they're so very easy to do. So you, by using practice exercises that are easy first, you boost students' self-confidence. And they get the feeling that, yes, I can do it. But then gradually and slowly move it from mechanical to meaningful and then to the communicative. But if you start with something difficult and communicative because the literature in the field says that everything has to be communicative, then students can't perform at that level. So we need to start with what? From easy to more difficult, mechanical, meaningful, communicative, so that students get the feeling, yes, I can do it. Another principle is that Dr. Brown brings to our attention is the distinction between facilitative and debilitative anxiety. Yes, anxiety is bad, but not all kinds of anxiety. So there are two extremes in the field. One extreme says what? Bring anxiety to the zero level. If you do that, will the students learn? In other words, you need to be too nice. If as a teacher, you're too nice, what is the consequence of that? So Dr. Brown says what? That yes, we need to bring the anxiety down, but we need to have facilitative anxiety. Enough anxiety that will push and drive the students to get the work done, to do the homework, to submit the papers on time, to give the presentations, to take the test, all of that. It's what? This facilitative anxiety. And I already mentioned the word test, and that could be by itself another principle, but I don't want to talk about too many principles. So that test brings anxiety. And this anxiety could be debilitative. And that means what? People panic, they don't want to do it. We don't want that kind of anxiety. But we want what? Anxiety that could push them get things done. I remember the tax filing thing, which is April 15. The people call it a tax day. But if the federal government says file your taxes whenever you want, you think how many people will file it? I will not because I have to pay. But it says that what? If you don't do it, there are going to be penalty. That is facilitative anxiety. Yes, you're already anxious because you are doing this thing, but you need to give them facilitative anxiety. And this year, because of COVID, and last year, they changed the date. I think it's now May 7th or so, or 17th, I don't remember, but it's not April 15th. So sorry if you haven't heard it, they have changed the date. So Dr. Brown says that what? You need to have some, be very nice, but don't be too nice because it's not going to help. Another principle that I already talked about it in relation to Dr. McLaughlin principle is the principle of using multiple intelligences in your teaching. That you need to use multi-sensory approach in teaching. Activate different modalities. You need to activate in your class. Every time you lesson plan, you need to ask yourself, what do I have? Do I have something for people that are linguistically intelligent? We look at everyone as intelligent. That's the beauty of this. I like that. It's so very positive. It's everything is intelligent. Everyone is intelligent. That's the assumption that you make. But you need to have something for linguistic intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, spatial intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence, logical, mathematical intelligence, musical intelligence, and finally, naturalistic intelligence. It may be impossible to put all of this in one 40-minute or 45 minutes or 50 minutes class, but in a week, in a unit of presentation, you could probably implement most of these. And why? Because if you deliver it to the intelligence that the students is strong at, the chances are that they will shine and they will feel good. And remember, we said that you need to give them the feeling of, yes, I can do it. And that's what we need to do. And there is so much emphasis on intelligences and delivery. But one thing I did not mention in relation to testing, that when you test also, not just for delivering your lessons, but when you test also, when you evaluate, probably testing is not the right term, when you evaluate your students, when you assess your students, you need to keep this in mind too, that you do not evaluate them only in one way, that paper, pencil, filling in the blank, but you need to find different ways to see if you could use different modalities in testing as well as delivering the presentations that you do. So this way, people could shine. In other words, we want the students to feel successful, to be successful, and that to give them the feeling that, yes, I can do it. This idea was, of course, by Dr. Gardner, and you see the picture. And principle number 9 is give ethnic heroes visibility in the curriculum alongside the mainstream heroes and implement approaches to multicultural education. And to do that, I could say so much about this, but because of the time, so I really encourage you, because this is kind of left out in ESL classes, because the assumption is in ESL classes is multicultural anyway, because students come from different backgrounds, all of that. But how to really make it multicultural, you need to look at these approaches of multiculturalism. Dr. James Banks has a lot of publication on this, and one of them is what? Approaches to multicultural education, and there is a textbook that I read, or a book that you could read and learn about it. So the students could see that there are people who look like them, who dress like them, who ate like them, who spoke like them, also succeeded in this country. That gives them a feeling that what? If he could do it, I can do it. Again, the question comes what? I can do it. But you have to use multiple ways to convince them that they can do it. One way is to use the principles and approaches of multiculturalism. Another important thing is to use culturally responsive techniques in teaching. And to do that, you need to use the 3C's technique. And my students that they took my methodology class, this 3C's is difficult than the 3C's of teaching vocabulary, which was convey meaning and check for understanding and consolidation. This 3C's stands for community, collaboration, and content. Dr. Hellman comes up with these and a lot more than these 3C's on techniques of how your lessons can be culturally responsive. So she talks about you need to share stories, bring personal narratives into things, because the most important thing is what? The students' background. Remember, we said that we need to honor who the students are. And one way to honor is what? To have this personal narrative out, either orally or in writing in all ESL classes. So we honor the shared stories. By sharing stories, we can create communities, express care. And when you do that, you show care, and of course, foster mutual respect. And the most important principle, I believe, for cross-cultural communication is expressing respect. And we need to show that in every class. And that's part of this culturally responsive teaching. Of course, all of us as ESL teachers, we have done this collaboration that could work online, could work offline, could work anywhere. And that's what? Group work, jigsaws, games, interviews. And I don't know how long we are going to be on this online situation. Looks like we are going to get in-person teaching soon, but it wouldn't hurt to learn all these ways of how this could be done in the online platform. And the other thing is that she says that in order to be culturally responsive, you need to have the content, the third C. That's the variety, accessibility, and relatability. That what you teach has to be kind of what? Related to what they will do with English. Well, it's in our case of teaching English. So the kind of English that they need in their daily life, that they need in their daily profession, that they need in what they need to do in order to be successful, in order to be productive citizens of the country. You need to relate that to their experiences, and you need to make it accessible. And that is that you need to find a variety of ways, and even if it's online, that you record the presentation, that they could watch it at home. There's also a part of this that the recording could be audio and could be video. You make both of them available. They may not have time to watch this whole thing, the 2 hours of presentation, but they will be able to listen to it while they're driving or doing other things. So variety is the most important thing in content and accessibility. And finally, I'm looking at the time so that I do not go over time, is the most important thing is what? The principle that I strongly believe in, always tell my students what? Take it easy. Take it easy. Have fun with language teaching. Have fun in your classes and be a centrist. Be a centrist. Don't go to the all extreme of whole language approach with complete absence of grammar. Don't go to the other extreme of all phonics, that breaking the language into pieces and feeding students with each piece. Don't go to the all extreme of all input and all extreme of all output. Remember, we are not in the business to make any of these linguists look good. All these leaders that I mentioned, like Dr. Krushen and Dr. Swain and Dr. McLaughlin and all other people that I mentioned, we are in the business of making our students look good, making our students successful, empowering our students to get what they want. And for that, we don't have to subscribe to any of these theories. We need to be a consumer of these theories, to take the best, put it together, and present it. And that means what? That we need to use an eclectic approach. Of course, this is my philosophy of teaching. Not all of you or everybody in the field may agree with it, but I believe that what other, these are all very intelligent people and they contributed a lot to the field, but I'm not going to be sold out to one theory. I want to get the best of every method, the best of every theory, the best of every model, put it together and use it in my classroom to make my students in that semester, in that class, successful. So it means that my approach may vary from class to class to class, depending on who the students are, what their background is, and what their level of competence is. So that's what I preach. That's why I put my picture here. That be a centrist, use an eclectic approach, and take it easy. Okay, take it easy. Have fun in your classes, and also I want you to also keep in mind, and please don't forget what Maya Angelou said. And you keep what she said in mind before you go to class, when you are in class, when you're giving feedback in writing or meeting with the students. And I'm sure that all of you probably, or most of you know what she said, but I am quoting it over here. She said that I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. It's a very strong statement. I believe in it strongly, that every day you go to class, you really need to keep this in mind, that we really need to make the students feel successful. We need to look at them as learners. We need to look at them as leaders. We need to look at them as knowers. And that's why I was so uncomfortable in some of these technology classes that I took, because the presenters made me feel like basically that I was such a stupid person that I didn't know anything. 28 years of my education didn't mean anything because I couldn't push a button the way he wanted me to push. So this doesn't work that way. And I think I certainly hope that these people that they presented the material that way, they had learned a little bit about these principles. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, I like to bring it back to your attention at the end of the presentation, that after all, as Paulo Ferro and Bill Hooks gently remind us, teaching is an act of love. And that's why we are in this business of what? We do it because we love to do it. We're not going to get rich and millionaire and compete with Donald Trump as far as the money is concerned. But we are here because we love people. We love this profession and we want to make a difference. So again, I'd like to thank the CATESOL chapter coordinators and leaders for giving me this very unique opportunity, giving this very unique honor to be here with you today and to share my experiences. And thank you very much. And I believe there is no room for question and answer, but during the break time, if there anybody has questions, you're welcome to ask. Again, thank you and have a great and successful day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Popal.
Thank
You're
you, Dr.
welcome.
Popal. I just realized I really missed listening to you. That was amazing to listen to you again. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Popal.
Thank you.
I'm seeing some questions in the chat. Will the slides be available as well as the recording? And Glenn, do we know the answer to that or this?
The record, yes. This is being recorded, but it will take some time for us to upload this, but definitely we will share with you the link.
And how about the slides from the presentation? Will those?
I could answer that because I believe in sharing is caring.
Yeah.
So yes, I will share my slides and I'll show that I do care. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your interest. Yes.
All right, so we are going to take a break in just a moment for 5 minutes. But before that, we wanted to talk about this offer from ESL Library. So I'm going to share the link one more time. I'm seeing so many thank yous here in the chat. I hope you can see that, Dr. Popal. Getting a lot of love over there. So we have a special offer from ESL Library, our sponsor, and they are offering a 2-month subscription to everyone who's joining the conference today. The love keeps pouring in here.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
It was really special. That was a great summary of just English language teaching principles. So applicable. It's so easy to forget them sometimes, you know, with so much to remember. That's so valuable. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I don't want to take away from all this love here that's pouring in. Make sure you see that.
I do. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes. I feel like I don't have to do anything else today. Yes.
All right. So I'm going to post in the chat here. First of all, for the raffle, if you didn't get that earlier, go to www.esllibrary.com/giveaways, and you can enter to win one of our 6-month subscriptions to ESL Library. We'll be giving those away today throughout the day, but everyone who does not win the raffle or who also wins the raffle can benefit from a 2-month subscription. So if you're unfamiliar with ESL Library, it is basically this giant platform of resources for ESL teachers. It's a very clean, beautiful website. And there are like 1,500 lessons on there for everything from beginners to advanced and total. Full disclosure, I also work there, which is part of why we were able to have the sponsorship. But I do know a lot about that site. So the 2-month subscription will give you a chance to kind of explore, find resources that you like. They're printable, they're also digital. You can assign homework. There's just a ton of content on there. So that's the link to enter the giveaway. And for the 2-month certificate, or for the 2-month full access subscription to the site, let me post the link here. There's a special code for everyone joining us today. I'm going to post that in the chat, and it is BA CATESOL 2021. So thanks for supporting the Bay Area chapter of CATESOL. So that's the code in the chat, and then you're going to enter it at this link. There's a special Bay Area chapter CATESOL link on the ESL Library site. So go to that link, enter that BA CATESOL 2021 code, and that will give you access, full access to explore the site. And I'll just log in really quickly just so you guys can see what it looks like a tiny bit in there, and then we'll go ahead and take our break for 5 minutes. But just so you can see a little bit of what this is in here. By the way, they do webinars if you want. Once you're in there, you'll see a webinar link at the very top if you want to learn more. But there are just tons of different categories, discussions, and debates. So you can have these really meaningful discussions. I'm a huge fan of social justice and equity topics. So I was really glad to hear Dr. Popal touch on that. If you go into collections, for example, you can see that they do have different collections on these different themes. So there's like a social justice theme in here, all kinds of really great content, again, from total beginners to advanced, great for teaching online if you're sharing your screen, or just for printing materials when you're back in the classroom. So, you know, George Floyd protests, taking a knee, the LA riots, International Women's Day. There's all kinds of really great content in here. I'm really proud to work for them because I think they have some really amazing content. I wouldn't work for them otherwise. All right. The materials if once you get in there and you have a chance to take a peek, you'll see there's tons of ways to find the content. And I run the webinars. So if you join one of the webinars, I promise you'll leave an expert. So the webinars are free to join and you can register right there at the top once you're into the account. All right, I'm gonna get myself off of the stage so that you guys have a chance to run and take a break, stretch your legs for a few minutes, and then we'll be coming back in a few minutes for our next presentation. So let's join back here at 9:45, well, Pacific time. I know some of you are around the world. In 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, we will be joining right back here for our next presentation. So thanks so much.
Karen, can you hear me?
All right. Welcome everyone back in. My name is Koi. Some of you may have met me before. I am one of the USF product. I am a current CATESOL Bay Area treasurer. So today I'm here to, it's my pleasure to meet some of you, to reconnect with some of you again. I would like to introduce our first presentation of today. So please join me in welcoming Mave Bezit Tanner, Hande Yildiz, Elif Konush, to present a presentation in promoting online collaborative learning using Miro.
Thank you, Koi. Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna share my screen, sorry. I'm kind of excited, I guess. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint? Okay, great. So, yeah, good morning again and welcome to our presentation. I am Merve and my co-presenters are Elif and Hande. And before starting our presentation, we would like to thank the CATESOL Bay Area Conference Committee for having us here virtually here today. I thank you all for attending. I'm also very honored to be here to take part in the same conference with Dr. Popal, and thank you for everything. So we would like to introduce ourselves very briefly first. Elif.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Hello, everyone. Again, it is so nice to see familiar faces. And I also would like to thank CATESOL Bay Area for giving us this great opportunity to be here with you all. Also, it's an honor to present in front of our dear professor, Dr. Popal. We all have learned so much from him. And I am Elif, and I am from Turkey. I finished my master program in TESOL at USF last year. Currently, I'm working as an ESL instructor at CalCC, which is a California College of Communications, and it's a language school in Santa Clara, and I am teaching academic English to international students. Merve?
Thank you, Elif. Okay, and I taught German and English for 5 years at different education levels in Turkey, and currently I'm studying for my MA TESOL at USF and taking my last course at UC Berkeley Extension for the TESOL certificate. I hope you enjoy our presentation and find it so very useful. Hande?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having us here. And it was amazing to see Dr. Popal's inspirational presentation and also seeing my fellow USF friends. And I'm Hande Yildiz. I'm a graduate from MA TESOL program. I'm an ESL teacher, and I'm a content creator and curriculum designer. Our agenda consists of 3 parts. So first, I'll be presenting the 21st century collaboration and design thinking. And next, Marva will introduce online digital whiteboard tool, Miro. And finally, Elif will demonstrate an example use of it in the ESL classroom. Marva, could you please go on to the next slide?
Okay, next. Can you see it? Can you see the slide?
No.
Okay, let me stop and share my screen again. Wait, I'm sorry. Okay, let me do it again. Okay, can you see it now?
Coming, I think.
No? Let me, okay, let me fix it very quickly. I don't know why. Okay, I'll start sharing again. Hopefully this time it works. Okay, now?
No, unfortunately.
It's
still frozen.
It's still frozen.
Yeah.
How
about we try? I try.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
It was working.
And Dr. Popal was speaking of difficulties of teaching online, and yes, here we're experiencing it. It's quite normal. We're all used to this, right? Okay. You're muted, Dr. Popal. You're muted.
I'm sorry, it was working, so.
No problem. I am trying. Okay, share sound and PowerPoint share. Can you see?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So I'll continue.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Just a second. Okay. Do you want me to go over the agenda again?
Do you want me to go to your next your slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Well, welcome back to our presentation again. On that note, let me introduce you to my capstone project, 21st Century Collaboration online collaboration through design thinking framework for today's ESL students. This project and the website I created, it was to provide ESL teachers the knowledge of 21st century learning and ways to promote effective collaboration, to promote students the skills of 21st century along with the language development. And whether or not there will be distance learning, online collaboration, and its application in K-12 classrooms, the technology and the digital trends in the second ESL language fields are rising. So we may need to get our hands on how to use technology and learn some of those tools that can help with our classes. Could you go please from the previous presentation?
Okay, hold on. I am having a hard time to go back, but I'll just.
Oh, we didn't practice this part.
I don't know why I'm having a hard time. Okay, so this one, right?
Yes.
Give me a signal.
Sure. As the new educational technologies have arisen for learning, they have brought many different rays of possibilities for students to learn and teachers to teach. And these abundant possibilities bring in new challenges and the need to change in the instruction. So let's move on to the next slide. So what is 21st century learning? It is designing learning according to the needs of today's learners and equipping them with the skills that prepare them for the future work world. And these essential skills include learning and innovation skills. We call them the 4 Cs, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity, life and career skills, information, media, and technological skills. And as teachers, it's important to incorporate these skills in our classes to prepare students for the future work world and to improve their language development. And why collaboration? According to Albert, effectively facilitating a group is a 21st century skill and is necessary for students' success in the work world. And in particular, there is an increasing need for collaboration, knowledge construction for future work life. And collaboration is one of the 21st century skills that can prepare ESL learners for the 21st century world and is essential in language learning development. And in fact, research shows that the role of teachers in designing collaborative environments for creative group work is increasing more than ever. And there are many advantages of collaboration, from improving critical thinking skills, language production, to student motivation. So it's something that we really want to see ourselves using in the classrooms. And there are challenges that comes with it, with effective collaboration in ESL classrooms. And it has been challenging to implement. And the teachers face difficulties when conducting and creating effective collaborative tasks. And it also requires commitment to prior preparation. And furthermore, research demonstrates the need for training teachers on collaborative learning design and practice. And in part of my project, I have developed the Design 21st website to support teachers' understanding of the 21st century learning and promoting effective online collaboration. Also, it's useful to understand the theoretical background of collaboration. Vygotsky's social theory stresses the importance of community and social interactions when making meaning, and how new information forms as a result of collaboration among students. And in the learning of language, Vygotsky's theory focuses on the influences of collaboration for communication. And in addition to that, John Dewey's constructivist theory recognizes learning as a social experience. And this progressive education formulation outlines the importance of interaction in the application of knowledge. And constructivism in an ESL classroom today can be seen as an inquiry-based, project-based approach, or design thinking. And in this type of education, teachers have the role to regulate the social experience to promote an environment where there's growth for capacity, arousal for curiosity, and strengthening initiative. And in my project, I chose design thinking framework, which can be integrated in ESL classes to achieve an effective online collaboration or collaboration. So design thinking is a powerful tool, a collaboration tool that incorporates the methodology of learning by doing. And Simon was the pioneer of design thinking, and he indicates that problem-solving behavior can be learned through developing new solutions in the stages of design. And the design thinking curriculum provides students the opportunity to immerse in a real-world problem-solving, and language learners can specifically benefit from the social interaction aspect. So through the use of planning, coordinating, and problem-solving, design thinking it consists of 5 stages. And they are to empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And being in collaborative work to solve a problem promotes dialogue, communicative language approach, so it leads to the creation of an authentic and meaningful learning. And in those stages, teachers are also a co-collaborator of those stages, in the stages. And when teaching online, teachers can assign students into groups, and students can follow the steps of design thinking. And to do this, teachers can benefit from online collaboration tools such as Miro, Adobe, Canvas, Padlet, and Lucid Spark. And using whiteboard collaboration tools can improve students' reception and production skills, as well as 21st century skills. And the authentic problems and the collaborative learning environment also helps students to create new information, and it also improves their language learning. In addition, students can also bring awareness to the correct use of language, as their work is more visible to their peers, so they can self-correct themselves, or they can become more focused on their own mistakes, or this also makes this learners self-directed learners. And you can view more about 21st century learning, digital trends and frameworks on design thinking, and tutorials on online collaboration on my website, design21st.com. I try to make the website interactive with various posts and tutorials. So would highly recommend it for teachers. It's called Design 21st. Thank you so much for listening. And in this part of the presentation, Marve and Edith will introduce the use of online collaboration tool Miro.
Thank you, Hande. Yes, I'm going to talk about why Miro, what are the features and some ideas and things to keep in mind. Next, please. Thank you. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with Google Slides, Google Jamboard, and Padlet, and different online tools. So what is Miro? So I would like to introduce what Miro is and then tell you why Miro is an effective online collaboration tool. So Miro is an online collaborative whiteboarding platform. Yes, thank you. And Miro also offers you an infinite canvas, which means it has a free form. So here, this is the screenshot of Miro platform, but don't worry, I'm gonna walk you through this platform in a few minutes. So here you see the canvas, and you can see here all the pieces in one place. So for example, on this
Hey, John, just so you know, I really need to listen to this.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna apply.
Okay, sorry, okay, yes. So here you can see the screenshot of Miro, and you can see all the pieces in one place. For example, here on the right, you see the screenshot, and on the left, you see a map, and then here you see different activities, but we're gonna show you them on the platform itself. And it's also available in any device. So your students and you can use it in any device like iOS, Android, cell phones, laptops, and it's very accessible. And also Miro is good for asynchronous and synchronous learning, because before joining your online class, you can design tasks and assign your students different tasks and differentiate instructions for different learner types. And also you can use this platform for online teaching like synchronously. Please, thank you. Okay, and Miro provides actually more features than other online tools. We think that because Miro actually includes most of the features of all, like Zoom, Padlets, Jamboard. So you will see them in a minute. So it's really good. And you can use Miro with as many people as you need with a free Miro plan. Next, please, Elif. Okay.
Yeah, this one, right? Okay.
I'll talk about some features here, some basic features, and give you them some ideas on the platform. So with Miro, you can create a board from scratch. And you can use also design templates to save time. For example, if you want your students to work on a mind map or a table, you can use the design templates. You don't need to create them from scratch. And also you can reshape and change the content on this board with different templates. Yeah, you can assign, like I said, different tasks on different boards live or on the same board. You can again assign them different tasks asynchronously. You can embed media to this board. So you can either embed a video or a PDF document or anything. You can upload many different types of documents. Yes, please. Thank you. And you can use the keyboard shortcuts. For example, if you're using a laptop or Mac, you can use, the shortcuts on the keyboard or with the Windows too, with the PC too. And I think this is one of the best thing about Miro. Keep calm, it's free. So can you click again one more time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So of course, like other online tools, Miro has upgraded accounts too. So you can always upgrade the accounts. But with the Miro free plan, you can also use many features. So I think you don't really need to maybe upgrade the plan, but as far as I know, and I read from the website, they are also offering an educational free account to the staff members and students of the educational institutions. If you want to check it out, you can, type this website and check it. Next, please. Okay. Can you stop sharing? Because I will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Walk you through the platform now.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, this time, yeah, it works.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So this is Miro. So the website is miro.com. To start with, you need to sign up, of course, for this platform and also your students, but it's free. So, and they can use any email account. They don't have to, have a Gmail account. They can use different, email accounts. And this is what I was talking about. This is an infinite canvas. So you see probably that I'm moving around to the right and to the left. So there is no limit. So it is not a limited, this is not a limited space here, like in Google Slides or Jamboard, for example. So it is an infinite canvas, an infinite board for you. On the left side here, you see the content creation toolbar. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with this kind of a tool on Zoom, like on Zoom, this is the annotation tool in Zoom. I'm going to show you the most useful and most distinctive features here and give you some ideas. Okay, so this is the template, but I'm going to get back to this later. Okay, here we have the text box tool. I'm clicking on this, and here, when I click here, for example, I can type something. Let's imagine that this is a reading class, okay? So I'm gonna type here, for example, reading class. Here, like you see this tool, and this is like in the Word document. And you can, change the font size. Let's make it bigger, for example, 16. You can change the font type, or you can, of course, change the color, for example. So you can play with this. So I'm gonna choose these and then make it maybe look purple. Okay, here we have a colorful title. Let's say it's a reading class. And asynchronously or synchronously, I want my students to watch a video about the topic. And let's say the topic is risk-taking. And I want to upload a video to this board. So here, with this arrow on the left, you see upload tool, this feature. When you click on this, you can either upload the video or PDF document or Word doc, whatever you want, anything, any content from your device, if it's already saved, or via URL, if you have the link. For example, I'm going to show you that I actually copied a link from YouTube, a video, and you can use different folders to upload the video or the content. So let's click on this. Upload via URL. So I already copied the link for you to save time. And here I pasted it. And then I click on the OK button. Here it is. So here you see the video. So it is now uploaded on this board, and I can resize it. I can reshape it and resize it. I can play with this. I can make it bigger, like this, or I can make it smaller. So if you asynchronously, if you want your students to collaborate on this platform and watch the video before joining your class, they can watch it. And they can write, their comments around this. I'm going to show you it in a minute too. And, when they click on this play button,
Discover Dove Hair.
so this is an ad, but, this is how they can, watch the video, or they can, open it or watch it on youtube.com. But you don't really need to go back and forth here. So this is the best thing about Miro. So you can upload everything on this board, and you don't have to, find the YouTube link again and so on. And let's say we have your sticky note feature. For example, here, I want to choose let's say purple sticky note. And I click on this, and here you see that I can also, move it around. So for example, I want my students to watch the video first and answer some questions, because we need to give them a purpose. So let's write here, instructions. I can write an instruction. I didn't write, of course, an instruction here, but just to show you. So you can, type anything you want about this video. And of course, your students can use these sticky notes, the colorful ones, if whatever they like. And they can also, paste these sticky notes here and write their, comments if they like it or not, so they can collaborate it all together. And next thing, sorry, I'm deleting it with the keyboard shortcut. Okay, then we have your shape feature. You can use this feature depending on the task that you want your students to, work on. And I'm sorry, I forgot something. Okay, with this sticky note, what else can you do? So let's go to the bottom. This is so I took this a picture of, like from a textbook called Pathways. So I copied and pasted here, like I uploaded, I use this content, but also you can drag and drop it to this board as well. So what else can you do with sticky note? For example, here we have this sticky note, and then I click on this. So
Mary, can you stop and again try and share your screen again, because I think it's frozen.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry. Now? Can you see it now?
No.
Oh,
We are having
I
again.
don't know. It's I'm so sorry. It has to be working. Oh. Okay, let me share my screen again. I'm sorry. Thanks for bearing with me. What about this?
No, it's not working again. I don't know why we keep seeing this problem, but
Do you think using another browser would work?
Safari, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the window itself. Let me check it very quickly. I'm so sorry. I don't know why it's not working. It's, yeah, technology. Okay, let me see. I'm trying it on Safari. Or let me
practice a lot at home, but I don't know why we see this problem.
Okay, I'm gonna do it again, just starting from the beginning. Let me. Okay, here we are. I hope this time it's gonna work. So I just closed all the things and then. Okay. Can you see it now?
No.
No, still we don't see it.
Oh.
Oh gosh.
Maybe I have a suggestion. Elif, do you have any? If you want, you can go ahead, and then meanwhile, maybe Merve can try to
Yes.
fix it.
Okay. I'll jump in my presentation. Then okay.
Okay. I will rejoin Didem. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So I'll skip this part because Merve were supposed to be talking about that one. We'll get back to that one later, and then I will show you a sample lesson by using Miro, consisting of 4 different activities for a comparison essay. So before I take you up there, I would like to talk about the objectives of the lesson. Here, the subject is, as you can see, is a comparison essay. And I will be showing you a sequence of different types of activities integrated with speaking at the end. And the purpose is the students will be able to list the basic structures of a comparison essay as a warm-up activity first, and then they will use an invention strategy to generate their ideas by brainstorming as a group for the assigned topic, and then they will write a short paragraph after they write down their ideas as a group. And at the end, they will be able to identify a problem from the essay they have created and then find a solution. So, okay, I'll stop sharing my screen and then I'll change the platform. Okay, this one. Oh, hold on. I forgot to add something here. Yeah, share sound. Okay, perfect. Can you see my screen, everyone? Okay, great. So as you can see here, this is an overview of my activities. So don't worry, I'll be zooming in a second. So, but this is the whole view, or we can say helicopter view of everything here, okay? So first, here there's a map here, and then I can zoom in and zoom out by clicking this feature here, or I can use my touchpad like this. Okay, so yeah, okay, all right. So welcome again to Miro. I hope it works this time. So this is the lesson I created on Miro. So first, I'd like to talk about that. I will walk you through the steps in a few minutes. And the purpose here overall is to build a skeleton for the comparison essay using a scaffolding strategy. Dr. Popal also mentioned making chunks. That way it makes more sense for our students. So each activity adds on more knowledge as they go to the next one. So this is, you can break into two parts, or if you want, or if you have a 2-hour class like me, you can do them all on the same day. And the activities are for intermediate level, but you can modify or adapt them to your students' level. So first, as you can see here, it starts with a warm-up activity. So it is an activity for jogging their memory for the comparison essay structure. Let's say you introduce your students the basic structure of a comparison essay. Here I have an example for you to see clearly. So before we go up there, let's say you introduce this comparison essay structure. The like introduction, and then body paragraph, and then conclusion, and after that, so you come here on the same day as a follow-up activity, or the next day you come here and you create this sticky note. So here I didn't do anything. I didn't make this activity from scratch. All I did was I come here and then I use this frame. So I already used this one. That's why I use this template here. And after that, so they will come here. If you want, you can assign a spot for your students to make it more easier actually, or they can just write here saying, I'll be zooming in, and then I'll say, okay, everyone, so what are the most important factors, key factors for comparison essay? And they will start typing. Okay, first it comes introduction. Great. And then what comes next? Body paragraph. Okay. So all they need to do is just, I tried this one with my students. First, they were so confused and they were lost, but I helped them. So, okay, you have to zoom in to be able to see more clearly. So you can use this map, or you can use your touch pad again. So I'll be zooming in like this. That way you can see clearly, and they can definitely change the size or the color. It's up to them. You can have them be creative. And then after that, it comes body paragraph and then conclusion. So let's say you go over the answers together, and after that, we have this part here. And this is, yeah, I turn this platform into a competition, into a game for them to make it more engaging. So I have a start line here, as you can see, and I assign them. So the second part, so after they brainstorm, second part is more challenging for students because they have 3 tasks to finish. So this is the This is one of the good benefits of using Miro. As I said before, you can make more meaningful lesson, and this is a game for them. So here I have, so I asked them, okay, are you ready to start? And then they say, yes. Okay, as a group, you have 3 tasks to finish, but be careful. Each task is harder than the previous one. And of course, encouragement, good luck. Then I have here a brainstorming. So here, normally Mary, I mean, she was talking about, talking about this sticky notes, but you can use these sticky notes for instructions. I think it's really easy and it's more colorful for them. So as a task, I say here that, okay, now let's brainstorm our ideas with a group for one of the topics in the chart here. So for this activity, I used here the table. So you can create your table any way you want. And then for the table, I just copied and pasted the pictures from Google. So it's really easy. It's really convenient. All you need to do is just copy and paste it. So also you can use with your keyboard. You can use your shortcut. So I have 5 topics. The first one is eating at home and versus eating at a restaurant. And then books versus movie. Then I have here online shopping versus shopping at a store. Then living in the city versus countryside. And then online education versus in-person education. I think this is so popular right now, this topic. And I have the example for them. So all they need to do here, so after you assign them a spot or the group, or maybe they can choose voluntarily, then they come here. I say them, okay, everyone, so now I will put you in a breakout room. So there you have to work with your group, and you'll be comparing similarities and differences between eating at home or restaurant or your topic. So after they discuss with each other, so one of them can be a typer, one of them can type, and then they need to just click here, and they will just write their ideas. Okay, eating at home versus eating at a restaurant, what could that be? Probably at home is more healthier. Okay, great point. And you can also monitor your students really easily here. And if you want, you can also set a timer right here. We have a set a timer feature, but about the timer, the problem is it's if you use a free plan, you can only use for 14 days. But it's worth to try. You can just set a timer here, or also you can put some background music for them to get relaxed. So here I have a, let's say, calm flow, because it's going to be hard. And then we have a music. Can you hear? Okay, perfect. So you have a lot of options here. Maybe for writing, it would be hard for them to concentrate at the moment, but you can definitely use it for other class like grammar or solving puzzle, like word hidden puzzle. And then once their timer is up, that's the sound they will hear. Yep. Okay, then that means, okay, let's go back to our main session, and then let's discuss what you have written here. And after they go over this activities, they have this second task. So you don't have to do that at on the same day, but I think it's meaningful activities, I believe. So for the first time, I definitely recommend for you to create something for your students, create an activity the way they can handle. So like for this one, all they need to do is just click here. They don't have to create something from scratch, or they don't have to use the features, because at first it will be hard for them. But here, all they need to do is just click here, and that's it, and then type it. And after that, as a little encouragement, of course, good job, ready for your new challenge, of course, and challenge accepted. And then there we go, another harder one. Okay, as a task 2, now it's time to write a full paragraph with your group using your ideas from the task 1. So with Miro, if they want, they can go back here like this, and they can take a look at their notes. Okay, so we write this similarities and differences. All right, they can always go back and forth. And then here, now this time they will practice everything in an actual writing. So I have an example here. This frame that you see is really a good feature about Miro. The reason is this. So after I write my instructions here, okay, now write a full paragraph with your group and include, of course, topic sentence, 3 main points, and your conclusion. And you can always, and this is your example for you to guide, or for you to for you to just see, and then the steps, and that way that it will be your guide. So here I have a frame, and I put all the group work here on the top of each other. So okay, group 1, this is your spot. Group 2, and this is your spot. If you want, you can put side by side, or you can put on the top of each other. And then the other one, and the other one. The last one is this. So the frame, okay, I was gonna talk about the frame part. So I put this activity in a frame. The reason is this: once you put your activity in a frame like this, you see that on the bottom left, we have frames here. And this is a super cool feature. I'll show you. Once you click this one, you see all the frames on the left side. And it's a shortcut. That way you can go and monitor, track your students' progress here like this. And let's say some of the students can are there having a problem. You can just jump. You can click this one, and you can just jump in the spot, the place that they are working, and that way you can just help them. Okay, group 1, I think you need to work on your introduction again, and group 2. And by the way, while they are working this part, they'll be in a breakout room again. So group number, this is group number 3. Okay, books versus movie. Okay, great job, guys. So keep going, keep doing. Also, do your don't forget your conclusion, and then at the store. So great job. So this is a really shortcut if you use frame. And after they write, after they are finished, so you can close the breakout room, and then they can go back to the main session, and as a teacher, you'll just go over each part together, and then you'll discuss, okay, what do you think about books versus movie? Let's give feedback to this group. And then after you go over these activities, we have the last challenge. So great teamwork, last challenge, you got this. You're gonna do a great job with this one. And then we have this speaking activity, critical thinking. Of course, as Hande mentioned, it's really crucial and it's really important to give your students an activity that improves their critical thinking. That way they can use it in actual life, like in real life. So I always put my instructions on sticky note. So, and now this time they will identify a problem from their essay by highlighting this sentence. So they will discuss, and then they will find a solution with their group. And here I use the same frame again. I just copy it right like this. So let me go over here. So I copy it. And then I paste it here. So I'll just make it. Okay, let's use this part. And then paste it. Okay, you can move it around like this. And then all I did is, it's really easy to duplicate. It's really easy to copy and paste it. And after that, after they write their essay, you come here. Okay, everyone, now it is time for us to find a problem. And then after that, come up with a problem and then a solution. So all they need to do is click here. And okay, I think this is the problem, teacher. Okay, now let's highlight it here by clicking or bold it. It's up to you. And now I have an example here, everyone. So problem, I think driving a car makes you lazy and sleepy. Yes. And what is your solution? My solution is I think we can park our car a block away to be able to take a short walk to our destination. Yes, there is no wrong or right answer for this like problem solving. I think it works for them. And here I put already a sticky note for them. All they need to do is they will write their problem here. So eating at a home and restaurant, what is the problem? So I cannot think of any right now, but they will just, okay, this is the problem. They will use the same sticky note. And then the other part is here.
Elif, we have 3 minutes left.
Oh my God, okay. And then finish and then level up. So after that, they will be finishing, great job, and they will be level up to another challenge. Okay, I'll stop sharing. I am so sorry that for about the time, Merve. Go ahead and share your screen.
I think we have 3 minutes left, but
Oh, okay, you're right. So we have to.
I can share my screen, but I just want to answer, or should I share my screen and show you 1, 2 features, or should we just jump over to Q&A?
Q&A.
We have 2 minutes left, so I don't want to
Yes.
take anybody's time.
So I have the suggestions. If you could answer some of like the subscriptions questions or like some of the features that the participants have, that would be awesome. So some of the questions are, can student write on the whiteboard during the class synchronously?
Yes. This platform is for, real-time collaboration and also, offline, let's say, collaboration. So they can write during the, they can edit the board during the class and write their commands, make commands and write other things on it with the teacher or without the teacher, anytime they want. And I see here another question. Is that okay? I answered this one. Where was it?
So a question from Meredith. She asked, can you ask the teacher assess all groups while they are working in breakout rooms?
Yes, when they're in breakout rooms, students are gonna, open the web browser and you will share the link with them first, of course.
Yeah.
And they will go to the board. And as a teacher in the breakout rooms, you can, because they're gonna screen, share their screen. So you will see that they are working on this platform all together. Yeah, and also in the main room, you can see it because they will share their screens in the breakout rooms. And in the main room, you will share your own screen and they can just edit it using the link. I mean, they need to open the web browser or download the app on their cell phones for free.
One question is, I think the free version is limited to 14 days, just some features, not Miro. Just timer, and I think the other one is video
chat, timer, and voting.
Yeah, only 3 features.
On 3 features.
And one more thing about assessing group work, you can also use formative assessment tools. You can use rubrics or success criteria to assess student work on social skills, taking turns, time management, listening, responsibility, adaptability, and originality of ideas or communication skills, team skills, use of language, and yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say one thing. I'm sorry, Hande. Did you finish?
Okay,
I would like to say one thing about Miro. So I know that it might seem a bit complicated, and since I'm so sorry for that. I couldn't explain my part and give you some features. But the thing is, if you want to use Miro as one platform, instead of using, for example, Padlet, Jamboard, and using, different online tools at the same time, let's say, so you can use maybe Miro, and, you can upload the content from anywhere, and you can use all these features on Miro. That's actually why we like Miro so much. So I would really, if you want to try it out, I would really recommend you to teach the basics of Miro to your students, one feature at a time, because it can be complicated for them too, and also for you. So just one feature at a time. And then when they get used to Miro and to use that board, that infinite canvas, you can add more features depending your of course, students' computer skills. So you know your learners, and you know you can add more features, you know, use more features, or only one or two features, depending on your class profile.
Okay, thank you, the first group. Yeah, next, that was an excellent presentation. Next, we have Tammy. We'll come back for the first raffle. Thank you so much.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone,
Sorry again.
for bearing with us.
Thank you guys. And that's just the reality of teaching online. I saw so many people commenting, don't worry about this. This is totally normal. We've all been through that. And it's totally true. No matter how much you practice, you can never prepare for these weird technology things. So don't worry about it at all. All right. So we are going to, I'm seeing lots of thank yous over there too. So I hope you guys are looking at the chat. We're going to do our first winner, and I put the link for the raffle in the chat. I'll put it one more time. It is esllibrary.com/giveaways. We're going to be doing 3 drawings throughout the day. So if you haven't had a chance to enter, no worries. Our first winner, speaking of tech issues, let's see if this actually works here. This is my first time doing this live, and I think I need to be logged in to my account. So we're going to log in real quick. And then I can go there and we'll see if this works for us. Okay. Okay, so let's see. We'll try to draw our first winner of the night, and this is, or of the night, of the day. And this is for a 6-month certificate to ESL Library. We're going to go ahead and do our little drum roll here. Da-da. Dina is our first winner. Okay, so ESL Library will go ahead and send a message, send an email to you with your 6-month subscription. So congratulations to you on that. And in 2 more minutes, we're going to be starting our next presentation. So it's enough time to run
whenever you have time. So hello, everyone. I'm Dida Mekiji. I'm the California TESOL Bay Area Chapter Coordinator-elect. And I'll introduce our second presenter. But before that, I'd like to thank the presenters of the previous session, Elif Konuş, Merve Beyazıt, and Hande Yıldız, for sharing this great tool, Miro. Sometimes it's really hard to keep our students engaged in online settings. And I think this tool will help a lot, right? So thank you. So I have the pleasure to introduce our next presenter, Natasha Haugenes. She's an ESL instructor in Academy of Arts University, and she's an ESL instructor in California College of Arts. So she will be talking about ungrading in graded courses. So we are really excited to listen to her. And I'll pass the microphone to Natasha.
Thanks very much, Didam. Thank you, Glenn, Coy, Didam, and Tammy for all your organization for this conference. I know it's no small feat, especially with new technology and in the new era that we're in. Thanks for inviting me to present here today. Ungrading in graded courses is the title. Welcome. If you're wondering about my visuals here, I often think of grading as I get kind of tangled up in my grading systems, and a lot of times when I'm trying to streamline my grading, I'm thinking about untangling all of that. So the untangling metaphor is where the visuals come from here. I teach at the Academy of Art University and California College of the Arts. I was also a faculty developer for many years, and I graduated from San Francisco State University way back when, after a long stint in the Peace Corps, working with the Peace Corps. So I've had a long career in teaching ESL and materials development, things like that. What I'm going to present to you today is some work I did that was in response to this question and curiosity I had around ungraded coursework. I was having reservations about the grades. I'm kind of obsessed with grading. We'll get more to that later. And I started to really wonder, I'd heard a lot about instructors working with ungraded pass, no pass type systems with their students. And I really started to wonder how international freshmen, pre-credit and just freshman students at the college level would respond to this, because I was very aware that they had come from systems where grading was pretty important in a lot of cases. So that is the big driving question. We're going to talk quickly about our own experience here with grading. Then I will present some background to my system that I developed, and I'm going to show you the system. Most important, I want to get to the feedback from my students. I surveyed my students about how they felt about the system, and there were some pretty interesting findings there, and applications to your own settings, hopefully at the end. Okay, so our own experience. Before I tell you much about my experience with grading, I would like to hear from you. So just do a quick share in the chat pod activity. Let's start with, I love grading when. Finish the sentence right in the chat pod. We're going to just spend a couple of moments on that. Elizabeth, I love it. Never. Yeah, I have those moments too. Helena, thank you. When it shows learning, when you feel like the grading reflects learning, right? Cheryl, thank you. When it can be done fairly, yes. When everyone turns in their work and when their learning is showing, absolutely. Ashley, thank you. Tangible progress and data can be motivating for students. It gives them feedback, doesn't it? It lets them know where they are. Everyone turns in their work and shows learning. Okay, the next question. I hate grading when. Tammy, thank you. And you have to do that. Thank you, Ashley. Yeah, when people teach to the test instead of meaningful skills, when the expectations are not clear. Sarah, oh, you're pushing those buttons. Yes, when we don't know what we're grading on. Time consuming when it, Helena, thank you. You say grading essays is time consuming and I want to make sure I'm grading equitably. I think that really resonates with me. I am absolutely obsessed with equity in grading. That's really what is driving this presentation. When it doesn't have any one-on-one feedback, when the grade doesn't represent students' progress, we're trying to be clear, we're trying to be fair, but it's not actually representing students' progress. And when students equate it as the only representation of their progress. Yeah, when a good student gets a bad grade because of something they misunderstood, or when it wastes time. I'm going to share one of my, like the epitome of the I hate grading moments. And when I'm standing after class with a student who has a rubric and who says, if I fix this one sentence in my essay, can you give me 1/2 more point for the grammar? And then I can go from a B- to a B. And I just, it makes me crazy. And I feel like it's such a colossal waste of time. It's insulting to me. I feel like I'm not serving the students. And I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate those niggly little point conversations. And yet I am a deep believer in equity, in establishing a system that really reflects students' learning and that is fair. I actually have been, as I keep saying, I've been pretty obsessed with grading and rubrics. I actually wrote a book about it with a couple of colleagues. I've helped a lot of instructors develop rubrics when I was a faculty developer. This came from my experience as a teacher, as a faculty developer, and as an academic coach with students who were at risk in the art schools I've worked at. And that is that I found in all of these situations, grading from the gut inevitably reflects certain unconscious bias. When teachers say, I don't want to grade, I'm just going to grade from the gut, that is unconscious bias at its rawest form. And that just makes me crazy. And so I've been on this quest to develop fair grading systems. At the same time, I've also found that the most reliable, rigorous, and cheat-proof assessment systems are often accompanied by dull and lifeless learning. Can anybody relate to that one? Yep. These words come from Graham Gibbs in an article that's cited at the end of the slides here. Just a side note, there is a lot of information in my slides. I'm going to skip over a few of them. I've included them here mostly for your own reference. We'll be sharing the slides with you later. So if I skip over something, don't worry about it. You can take a look at it later. But I just wanted to have it in there for you to refer back to later. So this is my challenge, to really balance that goal of really clear, fair grading with not being so obsessed and controlled by the grading system, somewhere in between where we can really do good teaching and learning, right? I'm going to quickly go through a little bit of background. I can't take credit for any of the ideas I present. They all come from somewhere else. They all come from building on other researchers and awesome teachers in the field. One of my earliest influences, somebody who really got me thinking about changing my way of looking at grading, is Linda Nilsson. She wrote this wonderful book called Specifications Grading, which kind of gets at the idea of contract grading. I'm not going to go too into the ideas in this book. She's an amazing presenter if you ever get to see her. She's not from the ESL world. She's a faculty developer. And but at the beginning of her book, she has this list of criteria for evaluating grading systems. And for me, this has been kind of a guiding list of ideas that I think about when I'm setting up a grading system. I'm going to stop talking for a second. I'm just going to let you read these as I light them up here. So it's a pretty long laundry list, but I'm sure that you can see that a lot of those ideas that we talked about at the beginning of the session that you wrote in the chat pod are reflected here. And so for me, this is just kind of a nice list to have that guides me, like, oh, right, these are all of the important things. But there's one more extremely important point that Linda Nilsson does not get to, and that comes from Asao Inoue. Asao Inoue is a guiding voice in anti-racist writing teaching. He was doing a lot of work at Fresno State many years ago. I believe he's at University of Arizona right now, Arizona State University. And this book about anti-racist writing assessment ecologies is pretty powerful. Asao Inoue is a deep believer in equity. So a good grading system also needs to be equitable. And what is our idea of fairness and equity? Sometimes fairness and what we think of traditional fairness is not the same as equity. And so his writing has got me really thinking about these ideas as well. He writes a lot about using labor contracts with his students, the idea that the most important component of learning, the thing we really want our students to do, is we want them to work. We want them to do the work, respond to our feedback, and put that thinking and that effort into learning. And that is actually the most important thing that we can give them and reinforce in our classes. It's not so much about whether they've mastered the present perfect or whether they've mastered article use or anything like that. It's really, are they able to work and respond to feedback and move forward in their process? He says contracts that focus on labor as a way to calculate course grades help most students of color and multilingual students perform well in writing classrooms. So his research, where he really focuses on labor and not these niggly little assessment grading all the little details of students' work, but rather the labor that they're putting into it, really helps our students of color, multilingual students, and students who are not necessarily coming from a super strong academic background, traditional academic background, whose way of talking is not necessarily the way their professors talk. And these are the voices that we really, really need to hear more of in education. And we need to provide ways of assessment that invite these students in who have traditionally been outside of the education system that we often, many of us, are kind of married to because we did well in it, and so we tend to perpetuate it if we don't really think about it carefully. So, Asao Inoue, excellent writer. I need to give a little bit of time also to this idea of ungrading. I resisted this term for a very long time because to me it speaks of no standards. So ungrading doesn't mean there are no standards. It's also, ungrading is not one thing. It's kind of a big label we put on this category of approaches to grading where you're not handing out letter grades constantly. There's another citation at the end of the slideshow if you're interested in reading more about ungrading. I'm sure most of you have heard of this. A few of the common features of ungrading, which I don't necessarily use in my own classroom. Students grade themselves. I've tried that a little bit. It doesn't work for me, so my system doesn't reflect that. Students reflect on their grades. They do a lot of metacognitive work. I think this is absolutely crucial. I do have my students that do that. Students set their own grade goal and agree to a contract. That's another type of ungrading, that I'm just going to go for a C, and here's what I'm going to do. I've never actually experimented with that type of grading either. My ungrading approach is a pass, no, not passing yet system, and I will present that to you now. The course that I did my research in was California College of the Arts, a freshman composition course for non-native English speakers. They were mostly international students from mainland China. And I did this research over 3 semesters. So a quick overview of this pass, no pass system. Again, I have a few slides here that I'm going to skim over that you can look back on later if you're really interested in the math of this whole scheme. The system is that everything in my class is graded on a pass or a lowercase p or not passing yet system. P means pass. They turn in the work, it passes, done. Lowercase p means they had to redo it, or maybe it was late. And not passing yet just means they haven't passed yet, exactly like it says. I had 3-tiered rubrics for all essays, so I still continue to use my rubrics and circle the qualitative feedback that I think is really important for them to see on their rubrics. But those were not attached to a letter grade. I didn't have points on those rubrics. It was more of a qualitative feedback that I was giving them. Resubmissions are allowed for almost all assignments and papers. Almost meaning you can't turn in draft 1 of an essay after the final draft and get credit for it. Duh, right? But everything else, pretty much I allow resubmissions for. And because when I was working at CCA during these semesters, the grade, they insisted on a letter grade at the end of the semester. So I managed to grade everything pass, no pass, but I calculated it all into a letter grade at the end of the semester. Here's how it worked. My essays were worth 50%. The final drafts of the essays are worth 50%. Assignments and quizzes are worth 35%. Attendance and participation is worth 15%. You can see over here, to get an A on this 50%, it means your 3 essays are on time. They are passing in all rubric categories. This is really important. Passing in all rubric categories, and no revision after the due date is needed. So the student who just turns in 3 passing essays, boom, they get an A. A B, essays are all passing in all rubric categories, though 1 or 2 may have needed revision after the final draft. Okay, again, they can redo their final drafts. They might need to revise it. This is so important for my students. I'll talk more about the results that I found from implementing this system later. The actual assignments and quizzes, attendance and participation, these two categories here are, excuse my bad drawing. It's really hard to do with a mouse, isn't it? These two categories here, I didn't really distinguish between late passing work or redone work. It was either pass or not pass, pass or not pass. It was just a lot easier to keep track of that way, okay? I always had clear criteria that we're passing, so students regularly do not pass. For example, my student who turned in her assignment with 2 sentences in English and then about 15 sentences in Chinese, she didn't pass, right? It's not enough. It's not showing me enough thinking. Students who just seem to give incredibly vague answers, there's a definite cutoff line. I have standards for passing, and I stick to those pretty clearly. So this is really the crux of the grading system that I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, the glitch is that this was all happening before the pandemic. When we went to the pandemic, my institution actually moved over to pass, no pass grading for the entire course. Oh, here's an example of a sample essay rubric. You can't see it right now, but it's just an example of my rubric. I am going to say one thing about the rubric, though. One thing that was always a little frustrating with me with a rubric is that if a student has incredible sentence grammar and organization and even focus, but their idea development is just like in the tank, it's terrible, and they're not passing. In a previous system, that essay would probably pass because the points would sort of cancel each other out, right? In this system, I am just insisting that everybody pass in every single category. And I really feel like that has resulted in better overall essays from my students, that they actually are paying attention to all of the categories, and they're not just writing through on their really strong thinking or writing through my class on their exceedingly good language skills. So they can't really make up for one big deficit with their other strengths. Okay. All right, I'm going to kind of race through this next part. I had to adjust my grading system for the passing and not passing. My institution developed pass, no pass course grades. And so I did adjust it there. It just became even simpler. I think the pass, no pass grading system was even more important during the pandemic because, as Dr. Popal reminded us, this affective filter, lowering anxiety is just, it's crucial. It was crucial in the pandemic. It was crucial for me. It was crucial for my students to just lower the anxiety, keep things a little bit simpler, a little bit more streamlined. So I already had a good system in place to move into this type of course grade. I did have to adjust this. Students weren't able to actually complete all of the assignments. It just got overwhelming for them. So I had to just adjust things, but I did stick to my demands for the assignments. There are a few slides here about what the calculations look like. If you're a numbers nerd like I am, and you want more details about how to do this, you can go through those. But this is the most important part. At the end of each semester, I asked for feedback from my students. What did they think of this? Again, as I mentioned before, I was really concerned about how students, especially from mainland China, who were just arriving in the United States in our education system here, how were they perceiving this system? Most of them seemed so very tied to grades, and I wanted to break them out of that. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it in a semester or if they would just hate me for it. So I asked what they thought at the end of 3 semesters. All of your work has been graded on a pass, no pass basis this semester, and you've been able to redo almost any assignment or essay that you did not pass the first time around. I'm curious to know how it affected you. Please circle your responses and feel free to write in more comments about this grading system. So here we go. Question number 1, do you prefer the pass, no pass system of grading? Do you prefer it? What do you think they said? There's a clear preference for the pass, no pass system of grading, but a few students still want the letter grades. If you're wondering what these dots represent, they just represent the 3 different semesters that I did the research. If you're wondering what the little dots represents, you know, there's always that student who puts the X on the line in between the two, in between the 2 options. I'm maintaining the integrity of those answers. Okay. Question number 2, how did the grading system affect how much you learned? I was very interested to see what they thought. My perception was that they learned more and it was more even. As I said, they couldn't make up for their deficits with their existing strengths. I felt very strongly that they had learned more under this system, and I wanted to see what they thought. Again, a clear bias towards learning more, not super strong, but most students felt that they learned some more, a little bit more anyway, with this system. A couple of students, not so much. Although you'll notice that the students who thought they would learn more would have learned more if there had been grades. Those were in my first semester, so I think I got more confidence, and that might have rubbed off on the students later. Here's a representative comment from a student. I was able to know what's wrong with my writing, an opportunity to redo it. They really appreciated the opportunity to redo it. How did the grading system affect how hard you worked on your essays and homework? Here we go. This is echoing Asao Inoue's idea that labor is the really most important part of learning, the thing that I wanted to reinforce most. Again, there was a clear preference, a clear tendency for students to think they worked harder, with a few notable students on the other end also. Resubmit and redo homework is really helpful for me. And this last question I added in after the first semester because I thought it was very important. Again, echoing back to the affective filter. How did the grading system affect how stressed you got about writing your essays and homework? Most students felt it didn't make a difference, but the bulk of them said that it helped them to be less stressed. And this also made me really happy. And I think that they were able to put that stress that they often put on that letter grade and the number that they were seeing, and they were able to just push it into actually learning. I felt like they really, really redirected their energy into learning. Feeling less stressed, I've got the confidence to do each assignment well and be sure of the grade I wished to have. So the students who really were still obsessed with their grade, they would come and check with me every now and then, and I'd say, well, yeah, looks like you're on track for the A. Let's look at our little chart. We could have that conversation if they wanted to, but there was a lot less. There were just far fewer of those conversations once I implemented this system in my class. So, what next? I have a couple of questions about, I'd like to continue this research. I actually did not survey my students during the pandemic about this system because, quite honestly, we were all just too overwhelmed. I couldn't send them another task to do. We were just happy to get to the finish line. So I don't have data on the pandemic semester, but I would like to pick this up again when I go back to teach at CCA in the fall. And there's one particular area that I would really like to explore. If you look on the left side of this questionnaire, there are a few students who still strongly prefer letter grades, who would have worked harder if there had been grades. My suspicion, my hypothesis is that those students are students who are straight A students from previously. They've been very invested and they're having a really hard time breaking out. That's my suspicion. And I would really like to do some kind of research that explores that. Who are these students that really don't like this system, who really prefer the letter grades? Who are they? And where is that motivation coming from? And is it serving them? I'd like to just give a couple of minutes right now for any questions or initial thoughts. And then I would like to put us all into breakout room breakout rooms with about 3 or 4 people in a room, and have you discuss some applications to your own setting. But are there any questions right now, or just clarifications that anybody would like to have?
I have a question.
Yes.
It sounds like you're in a class that does essay writing, and I'm wondering how this could apply to like a beginner course where there's not this level of essay writing, or maybe there's more fill in the blank type things where the answers are kind of black and white.
Mm-hmm. In those, I do have a few of those types of, we do quizzes. It's an essay, it's a freshman comp class, but we do some quizzes. And when we do those, on, for example, sentence combining or adjective clauses, I set a level which is either where it's either passing or not. So if they can get 7 out of 10 questions right, 7, 8, 9, 10, then that's passing. Below that is not passing. So on those types of really quantitative quiz type things, I just kind of make a cutoff and just make it either passing or not passing. They still see their numbers on those, but I don't make the point of translating that, 17 points equals a B plus or a B exactly. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah, thanks. Was that Ashley who asked that question? Thanks. I couldn't exactly see who was talking.
Natasha, I think we have one more question from Janice.
Janice, thank you so much.
Hi, am I on?
Yes.
Yeah. I have 2 little questions. One is, did you collect demographic data, and does that reveal anything about equity in these results? And also, is there a problem with students thinking that the teacher is not doing his or her job if they're not getting vast amounts of correction on grades?
2 awesome questions. Thanks, Janice. Demographic data, I could dig it up. Again, the vast majority of my students were from mainland China. And I would say about half of them had arrived in this country within the previous year. Okay, so they were educated elsewhere for the most part. There were a few Koreans, and then I also did always end up with a few like generation 1.5 students. I often have sort of 1 or 2 of those students in my class each semester. Okay. So your second question, the other thing about equity, though, I just want to mention this, and this is kind of hard to quantify. My students are all art students. They're art and design students. And a few of them have not maybe done so well in mainstream academic math and sciencey education. They think a little differently. So when we talk about equity in the California context, we're often thinking about Latino, African-American students. We think about the populations who are in California and are educated K-12 in California. But there is also this idea of the equity of how people think, and the artistic brain is a little bit different. We think a little differently in the art world and are rewarded for different things than maybe in a sort of a STEM type of a setting. So I do feel like this system kind of opened up. It was more equitable. Again, how to quantify that, I'm not sure, but I'd like to try. Your other question was about, do they think that the teacher's not doing enough work? No, I always give them tons of feedback. And again, if you look at a lot of the writing and rationale behind ungrading, that whole idea of ungrading, part of the rationale behind most ungrading systems is that we want to direct students not to that A-, that 92.5%, but we want to direct them to the feedback and really get them to pay attention to that. Because some students, when they see the A, they won't even read the feedback, right? Or if they see the D, they just feel like crap and they want to give up. Right. So the idea is that, yes, there's still tons of feedback. And I do give them feedback on the rubric that I shared with you earlier. I circle everything. I give them extensive feedback. And when they ask about how to do better, we just pull up that draft and I say, well, every question I ask you, is a way to develop your idea. Every little thing I've marked here is something you can do to improve your essay. So I haven't experienced that. I haven't experienced them thinking that they're not getting enough feedback. On the contrary, I think they're actually paying a little more attention to their work. And Koi, you just talked about fostering a growth mindset. I totally agree that this helps to foster a growth mindset. Especially, I'm just going to share a couple. One anecdote. I would like to do some student profiles in a slideshow at some point, but every semester there is one student who redoes their essays 4 or 5 or 6 times. And it's exhausting. But boy, those are the students who probably wouldn't pass my class otherwise. And they are tenacious and they will keep going and they will keep going. And I almost feel like I'll keep going as long as you'll keep going, as long as you keep doing it. And if you keep responding to my feedback, I can keep coaching you and we can keep working. And sometimes that generally with those students, I see the progress at the beginning is kind of slow and then they kind of get it and it really increases. Those are students who would not pass under a traditional grading system. Okay.
Natasha, I'm just helping you with breakout rooms. So I created breakout rooms with 3 or 4 people in each.
I was hoping you would do that, Didem. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And I was wondering how much time would you like to give? I'm checking the time. And do you think 5 minutes would be enough in breakout rooms?
I think that would be terrific. Yeah, I think that would be great.
One is back.
There we go. Thanks for your help, Didem, in getting everybody out into your rooms. I hope you had a little bit of time to debrief there. That was hopefully just some time to talk about maybe how you might use it yourself, questions, holes you see in the system. My email is in the presentation. I will pop it into the chat pod too. I love talking about these things with people. I am a lifelong learner and a lifelong teacher. Is there any last comment or question or that anybody would like to make? Can we have the slides? Yes, Glenn has the slides, so he'll be distributing them in some way to everybody.
Yes.
Yes, Martha, numbers wonks, absolutely. Or just feel free to email me directly and I can send them to you at the break. Okay. Last comments. How many students do you have in a typical class? This came up in my little group. I have 15. We are capped at 15 in the course where I was teaching this. It's glorious. It's also still a truckload of work. I know that other institutions have much larger classes. And we just, we got to adjust things accordingly. I did find that this system really has saved me a lot of time. And I do feel like the time I put into my teaching now, the time I put into my feedback is much more, students pay attention to the feedback more. I'm not wasting time on discussing those ridiculous little point things with the students that make me crazy. So, Amy Zins, would love to hear if anyone has had success convincing a department to allow pass, no pass grading. Yeah, and part of my point is that you don't have to have your whole department adopt pass, no pass grading. You can do it within a graded system and just grade the assignments and the essays pass, no pass. And that will feed into a letter grade later. Okay. People remember how you make them feel. Yes. Yes, most students feel less stressed. Actually, Dr. Popal's presentation, I wrote down all these quotes from your presentation. I was like, that relates and that relates. And I didn't get to integrate all of them, but I think we're very much on the same page. Absolutely. That was one of the things I wrote. Okay. This is really fun. And I love just meeting all these people who are actually in my neighborhood, basically, compared to other online events that I've been to lately. It's really great to meet everybody. Thank you very much.
Natasha, thank you very much. It was a great, great presentation. And so sometimes we ignore that grading or assessing part. We are just more focused on the instruction part in our classes, right? So thank you so much for reminding us the importance of grading system. And one thing I like is your wording, the way you use not yet part, which is very important, as Koi mentioned in the chat box, like for the growth mindset, right? Instead of saying fail or not passing, it's like not yet. So encouraging our students and giving more self-confidence for them to pass their classes, especially for ESOL. This is so important. Thank you so much. Any final comments or questions for Natasha before we have a break? Okay, so let's take a 5-minute break, and then when we come back, we will, sorry, raffling. Okay, raffle, yes. Sorry, Tammy. Okay, I'll pass the microphone to you.
No worries. Yeah, well, this will go quick. I'm just going to go ahead and draw another winner for our raffle. And thank you again so much, Natasha. I'm seeing a lot of love in the chat over there. I know you're monitoring that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and choose another winner, and then we're going to come back at 30 after in about 8 minutes to give you enough time to run and take a little bit longer break. Okay, so our next winner is drum roll. Amy or Ami, I'm not sure how you pronounce that one. Amy, we'll say. So I'll go ahead and reach out to you and through the chat, and we'll get you connected with your 6-month subscription. So everyone will be back here in 8 minutes, and then we'll have our next presentation. All right, congratulations, Amy.
Thank you.
Hello. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a chance to stand up and walk around a little bit. All right, so I am going to be introducing, well, actually, before I introduce our next presenter, I should introduce myself. I'm the past coordinator of CATESOL. So it is nice to meet all of you. If I didn't have a chance to meet you last year, we didn't have an event because it was a weird year with COVID and everything. So I'm glad I'm able to help with this one. So next up, our presentation is by Elizabeth Eastman, and she is an ESL instructor at West Valley College. And she is in their non-credit program. She also has her master's in TESOL from the University of San Francisco, and she is a doctoral student at the University of San Francisco in International and Multicultural Education program over there. Her focus is in language and culture. And we're excited to have her presenting today about ESL activities for intercultural communication and community building. So thanks for joining us, Elizabeth, and we're excited for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you all for sticking it out to the end and hearing my presentation. My interest in research and in teaching is in trauma-informed, culturally responsive teaching. So the activities and the module that I'll be sharing with you today fit with that approach. And I wanted to say too that I've put my email address down here with the sincere hope that you will contact me if you have any questions that I don't answer today in the presentation, or if you just want to follow up with a discussion more about any of these concepts. I'm really happy to engage with you around those. So here are 3 activities in our module. The first one is called Teach Me Your Name, which I learned at a CATESOL conference a few years ago, and you may have heard of it. The second is Hidden Talents, which I learned from Dr. Popal. The third is Two Truths and a Lie, which is a game that's been around for a while. And then we have a module called Increasing Our Wellness, which I developed with my students in my current class. And I teach an intermediate level class now. And these activities can be modified if you teach a basic level class. Okay, so let me start with the components for trauma-informed culturally responsive teaching, just very brief overview. I've grouped them into three different kind of categories. The first one is increasing a feeling of safety, and that means physical safety when we're in a classroom, but also emotional safety when we're online. That means just very simply that that our students know that people will not make fun of them. If they make mistakes, they don't laugh at them. And I can explain more at some point if you're interested in hearing more about how we establish a feeling of safety in the classroom, but those are two of the elements. A sense of belonging is very important, as we've talked about earlier in this presentation, that our students need to really have a feeling that they belong in the class, because there are not many places where our students do feel like they belong, but we can provide that for them. And then we want to be asset-based and strength-based. All of our students come to us with a wealth of assets, strengths, knowledges, ways of knowing, networks, resources, all kinds of wonderful community cultural wealth, it's called. And what we want to do in our class with this approach is that we want to draw out these assets and we want to use them in the class. And then we have community building, which, as Dr. Popal discussed earlier, is about creating a caring community where there's sharing, cooperation, and caring for one another. And then critical pedagogies is a big topic, which is beyond what we can talk about today, but it's part of the approach. And you can think of it as kind of boiling down to maybe looking at systems that are oppressive, and then looking at what people can do to start to free themselves from that oppression. It's sort of like thinking about teaching with having a social justice lens and having a bent towards social justice. It sounds like the ESL library has is a great resource and has lots of content there. So that might be really good if you're interested at all in looking at those particular lessons. That might be really helpful. Now, critical self-reflection refers to the process that we need to all be engaging in as teachers, to be looking at our own biases and how we can start to address them, okay? So that we can grow as individuals, and so that we can make sure we're providing our students with the most anti-racist and inclusive environment possible. This approach fits with relational pedagogy, which you may have heard about. Sean Jenright has said that what we need is not to think so much as teachers about what we know, but instead to shift towards thinking about who we are for our students to best serve them. Now, our goals for today, for our activities and our module. Of course, in all of our activities, we want to be increasing our students' language acquisition. That's why they're there. That's what we're going to do as our primary focus. But along with that, and in order to do that, we need to lower the affective filter, as Dr. Popal has said. We also want to deepen our students' understanding, respect, and appreciation for other cultures, and provide a sense of belonging for our students, build community, and as much as possible, help them to increase their positive sense of self, which comes, as you'll see from the activities, sometimes upon reflecting upon their own assets, their own strengths, what they bring from their background, from their own communities. Okay, so let's get into it. Our first activity is called Teach Me Your Name. And you may have heard this, but the sweetest sound in any language is the sound of our own name. And I think that you may have experienced, as I have, a time where somebody mispronounced your name or didn't bother to learn it correctly. And you know it doesn't feel good. What's also not good is when someone gives us a nickname that we don't want, right? We never want to do that to our students, or somebody will give us a name so that they can pronounce it more easily. And we never want to do that for sure. So in this activity, what we want to do is ask students near the beginning of the semester or quarter or section to how they pronounce their name. And we want them to teach us how to say it correctly. And as teachers, we want to role model this. We want to role model being vulnerable, being wrong, being learners, and being committed to getting it right. So instead of just doing our best and hoping it's okay for the student, we're not going to do that. We're going to ask them, please correct me. Say it. Did I say it right? Will you say it again? Am I saying this right? Until we get it. And the other students need to be practicing each other's names too from the beginning so that they can more confidently address their classmates without worry that maybe they're saying their name wrong. And so that everybody feels good when they hear their name spoken, it's correct. It's said correctly as much as possible, okay? We can also ask students, what does your name mean if you know? Students have been given quite often names with very significant meanings. In my class, I've heard their name means leader, savior of my people, learned, pure, beautiful, caring, caregiver, or daughter of the moon was one translation I heard. So this is really significant information that we can get from our students from the beginning. You can ask students, why were you given this particular name? If you know, like what's the story behind that? How do you feel about your name? And is there another name? If you don't like your name, is there another name you want to be called? Now, in addition to having students get to hear their name pronounced correctly, the other benefit of this exercise is that students are revealing something personal about themselves. They're taking a little bit of a risk, and they're being met with respect and with care and with interest. And this can be the beginning of creating that caring community that you want. Okay, so now our second lesson that we would do is on, it doesn't have to be this sequential, but this is perhaps what I would do for my second in the class in getting to know my students would be, what are your hidden talents or your superpowers? You may already do this, but I want to talk about how I do it and why I think it's really important that we do it. This is done as a whole entire class activity. And as I say, I learned this from Dr. Popal. We want the teacher to be vulnerable and share their own hidden talents or superpowers, okay? It's good role modeling. And part of trauma-informed culture responsive teaching is for the teacher to be vulnerable too, okay? Because we're all working on building trust and we're all part of the community. So we ask students to write down what their strengths or hidden talents are, or their superpowers or their hidden talents, I should say, and then go into breakout rooms and share with each other. And then we don't want students to just say, these are mine. We want the other students to ask questions about that. Oh, that's so interesting. Where did you learn that from? How long have you been doing that? When do you do that? How did that come about? Is there someone else in your family who does that skill? Okay. It's the beginning of relationship building among your students. And it's another good example of people taking a risk and others being there with caring and respect. Okay, so remember, talents, your hidden talents do not need to be particularly useful. Here are mine, I've listed, you could see thumb wrestling. I don't know if you know what thumb wrestling is. It's like when it's a game that you play, you try to hold the other person's thumb down. Not a real big talent. I can catch things if they start to fall, like off a counter. I can stand on one foot for a long time because I have good balance, not that useful. And I could wake up without an alarm clock, okay? So our students will tell us funny things. Here are some examples. But what I want you to do while I'm reading these is, can you put in chat for me now, what are your hidden talents? What are your superpowers? I'd just like to see. So let's just take a minute and write them in chat. And I'll read you some of this that my students have said. One student says, I can use a Chinese abacus. 2 students can catch flies with their bare hands. 1 student tells us that he can make gophers leave his yard without hurting them, which I find kind of amazing. 1 student can drive very quickly. A few can repair things in their home or repair their car. One woman had a business in Mexico making paper decorations for events. People can decorate cakes, make jewelry, organize big family gatherings. Okay, so let me stop screen sharing for just a minute and check the chat and see what we have in chat. I can cook pies. I can make brownies. Yay. I can make tasty brownies, in fact. Ceramics, cross stitch. Wonderful. I can find any book in my library by the cover. Okay, fantastic. I'm good at finding parking places. Can stand on my head. Can revive dying plants. Oh my, I can get lost easily. Okay, part of the benefit, thank you all. And part of the benefit of this activity is you're helping to lower the affective filter because you are using humor and you're making it a fun activity too. Okay, thank you. So please feel free. Thank you all for putting things into chat. I really enjoy reading your special talents. Okay. So let me go back to my screens. The other outcome from this activity, besides starting to create a sense of community, is students start to feel like I've revealed something about myself and it's been met with friendliness, curiosity, people want to know more, and that's starting to create a feeling of community. There's also some networking informally that can go on, where someone says, oh, really? You know how to do that? I want to learn that. Someone says, you know, I don't know, how to balance on your head. I've always wanted to learn that. Or you're a good cook? Tell me more. So there's starting to be connections. Maybe somebody is having a big family event and they're in charge and they want to ask somebody else, how can you help me figure out how to organize this, right? Or I broke something in my apartment and I don't know what to do. Can you give me some tips on repair for that person? Certainly, if I have a gopher in my yard, I know who to call in my class to ask for some advice, okay? So you can think about how you're going to encourage this so students can enjoy the activity and they can start to make some connections and hopefully build some friendships. Okay, 2 truths and a lie has a similar outcome. And you may have played this before. So I tell my students, because a lot of people have never heard of this game, that what you want them to do is to write down 2 facts that are true about themselves and 1 that is not, okay? So while I'm talking about this, you might start to think about this, but your group mates, if you were doing this, would be trying to guess which is the lie. Now, one of my students didn't feel good about lying, and I had to reassure her, it's just a game. It's like a puzzle, so don't worry. Okay, so you want to have students understand that you want them to write down 2 things that are true, 1 that is not, and then to make it a little tricky, okay? Because if you don't make it tricky, people can guess too easily. Like if I said I speak 12 languages, you would probably know really quickly that is my lie, okay? Okay, so here are mine, you can guess. When I was younger, I had a business as a pet sitter. And this is not a picture of me. It looks sort of like me. That's not me. Okay, okay, some big dogs. I've run 2 marathons. And when the pandemic is over, I plan to visit Australia and Morocco. Which is the lie? My students know me pretty well because I've had a group of students for a while and they couldn't guess. The lie is number 2. I've only run 1 marathon, not 2. So that's the lie. Okay. All right. All right. So what I've learned about students. I have one student who's about 30 years old, happily married, and has 2 children. And she told us she is the 4th wife to her husband. I mean, he's been divorced the other 3 times. He's not, yeah. But he was married and divorced 3 times before her. And I found that fascinating because I think, wow, she's got to have a lot of trust that this guy is not going to make her the 4th divorcee. A student let us know that she was pregnant by using this game, which was kind of funny because she had just gotten married. So we were all very surprised that she was already pregnant. And nobody guessed that at all. And on Zoom, you couldn't tell. She was showing, but she had to stand up to show us. So students use this as a way sometimes to communicate something that they do want to tell us. And then I've had students reveal things that I never would have known about them otherwise. We have an expert ping pong player who competed nationally. We have a very, very skilled Tai Chi teacher. We have an accomplished horseback rider, all kinds of things that we would never know if we didn't do activities like this to ask, right? So this goes back, this activity and the previous one actually both go back to accomplishing our goals, which are lowering the affective filter, remember, providing a sense of belonging, building community, increasing a positive sense of self, which comes from reflecting on what we know, expressing it, and then having other people say, oh, wow, that's pretty interesting, or tell me more, right? That can increase our positive sense of self. And then we can also deepen our understanding and appreciation, respect for other cultures when we hear about and learn about other practices. Like the Tai Chi instructor is a good example, okay? This game or activity and the previous one are related to trust building. And we want to remember that trust building comes from taking a risk that's a prudent risk, a reasonable risk, and then having someone be there for us emotionally. Witness it, see what's happening, and be there for us, okay? So this is trust building at its core. Remember that we all want to be seen for who we are, we want to be accepted, and we want to feel valued. Are there any questions about these 3 before we go on any further? Any questions or comments? I'm going to stop screen sharing for a minute so I can see the chat. Okay, so some people have already done it. Okay, great. How do you translate these activities for beginning students? Students who don't have very much English yet. Many of them seem awesome but complicated. Okay, great question. I think that with Teach Me Your Name, giving examples, showing pictures, right? We always want to use visuals. As if you've been a student of Dr. Popal, you'll know. Use visuals, use examples. And first we explain it, then we model it, and then we have other students do it also, so that they are examples. So I think students can get Teach Me Your Name. The second one of hidden talents, I think, is not very hard either for students to get. It's the same thing. If you use visuals, use lots of examples, use yourself, I think that's okay. I think they'll get that. And then for the third, 2 truths and a lie, it takes longer to explain. So you can explain it as it's sort of a puzzle. And there are 2 things that are true, but I would do it visually, lots of pictures, and have them guess. So it wouldn't just be my example, but I would also be asking, I'd have somebody else's example up there and say, which one do you think is not true, right? And which one do you think is true? You just have to guess. I think students can usually get it. Great. And then Tammy put into chat, the library has these sets that could be great for some of these activities. Thank you. There's a great resource for us right there. Okay. All right. So let me go back to screen sharing, and I want to show you, if there aren't any other questions about this, the module that I developed and just did, and that I'm continuing to do to some degree with my students now, actually, as we've moved on to another module. We're still integrating it, and that's on increasing our wellness. Okay, so if you teach life skills, you can totally justify this as a module, because life skills are usually how to go to the doctor, how to go grocery shopping, right? How to use the ATM, whatever your students are needing to learn. But if you look at this, is the immigrant integration framework that was developed in the Bay Area with research, with the work of community colleges and adult schools. Okay, it is called the Immigrant Integration Framework, developed by Allies, which is the Alliance for Language Learners, Integration, Education, and Success. And there's the website at the bottom. So you can look at this document online if you want to, and read all about how they apply it and the research behind it. So this shows we have 8 different areas that we can work on with our students. We have English proficiency up here as one of them, but look over here, we have health and well-being. Okay, so this framework is saying our students need all of these different components. So you can justify teaching about health and wellness and a lot of other things that you would find useful to your students, because you could probably find them in this framework. Like I'm doing one right now on addressing racism in Silicon Valley. And I can justify that certainly as mental health, as participation in community life, and as providing for family, right, and children, because family members need to be able to deal with racism right now too, right? Certainly at any time, but now more than ever. Okay, so here are the steps for increasing our wellness that I did. One of them is access prior knowledge. So in breakout rooms, I had students talk about what they already do for their wellness, or you could ask them, what do you do for your coping skills to deal with difficult times, right? So they would discuss this, and then they would report back to the entire class at the end. And we would start to put together a list of what people do. What was useful about this also is that people started to make connections. Oh, you do yoga? So do I. Oh, and then people could chat about that afterwards. They could encourage each other. Oh, you go running? So do I. Oh, I want to do that. I want to learn more about that. So by talking about it and getting students to discuss with each other what they're already doing, you're encouraging them to use the modalities they know, and you're encouraging them to learn from each other, and you're helping to support those relationships, that sense of community. And that gives everyone a sense of belonging when we do that. And then you want to teach the modalities that you know about, the ones that you already believe in and are knowledgeable of, right? So for me, it was laughter yoga. Thank you, Dr. Popal, for teaching that. Having a gratitude practice, and giving or helping others as a way to increase our own happiness or sense of well-being. So you can teach the research behind it though, so students really understand. It's not just like something the teacher thought would be a good idea. There's actual research on why it works. And then you can invite students, if they're interested, to present on related topics. My intermediate level students have some high level of, some of them have advanced levels of English and wanting to do research and wanting to present. One student in particular said, I want to present on beating insomnia. So she did that. And she also did a presentation with another student on an overview of stress and ways to address it. And then with students, you want to create a list of different modalities that can be used to increase wellness. And then each student chooses a modality to work on in groups, in breakout rooms, for a group presentation when they're ready. And here were the modalities that they chose. From the long list that we made, we had a going out in nature group, aromatherapy, meditation, Tai Chi, and yoga. And here are the guidelines that I came up with. Everyone needs to participate or contribute, but speaking during the presentation is not required. Remember, this is a non-credit class, okay? They're not getting grades. And in my class, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do other than be respectful, okay? That's really my only rule. So I required that students participate in some way, or I asked them to participate in some way in the group, but that could be helping to facilitate the conversation, figuring out who's going to do what, delegating tasks, working on looking up resources, finding images for the presentation. There are lots of things that other students could do if they didn't want to actually present the day of to the class. And then I gave lots of opportunities in class for students to do the group work. There was no outside requirement. And I had them include in the presentation why the modality works, and if at all, to teach the modality to us. And it wasn't, this is how you do it, and then that was it. It was, this is how you do it, and we're going to do it together. Okay. So we needed to experience it together, because that's part of our trust building, our community building, right? Taking a risk and being there for each other. And it's supportive of the people who are doing the presentation, because we're not just listening to them talk about Tai Chi, for example. They're teaching it. We're all standing up and we're doing it together. And that's a lot more powerful. It's also better for our own learning if we're doing that physical modality, right? And then I asked students to include either slides or other written material, because a lot of students, probably all of us included to some degree, learn better from seeing as well as hearing. I don't know, maybe that's not true for you, but I think a lot of people are that kind of learner, where it helps to see the material as well as hear it. And then it makes it clearer too for everybody when there's a presentation. And I asked if they want to include videos, images, etc. Great. Now you might be asking, how did your students know how to do research, know how to do slides? I said, this is what I want. And every group was able to do it, because there was someone in the group who knew how to do slides or knew how to look up something on the internet. If you have students who don't, then you can certainly work with them. But in my groups, there was somebody in every group who did, or there was one group, the Going Out in Nature group, didn't know anything about doing slides, doing a presentation. They'd never done a presentation, but they looked it up on the internet and they did a fabulous presentation for us that included a video that they made and that they then embedded into their slide presentation. And then I have an assistant teacher, she's a volunteer, and I had her proofread all of the slides before the presentation to correct for grammar and to make sure it was really clear. Okay, and then after each presentation, I asked students to give positive feedback to the presenters, ask questions, they could make connections, and they could also talk about what they learned. So from this, we saw that students could see that some modalities are shared across cultures. They asked questions about practices in other cultures. They made connections, and all that was very beneficial. There was one student, for example, who said after the aromatherapy presentation, I feel so proud right now. She was not in the presentation, but she heard the presentation, and she said, my country, Iran, does a lot of making of perfumes and essential oils. So for you to do your presentation on aromatherapy just made me feel so proud of what my country does. So that's something that I wouldn't have guessed could come from this, but we have people also starting to use these modalities. So now I can say before the weekend or at the end of class, okay, what are you going to do this weekend for your wellness? Anyone going to go out in nature? Who's going to practice a little Tai Chi? Or on our break, I can say, it seems like maybe we could use a break just to do a few yoga moves. What do you say? So we all have the same basic understanding of what these modalities are and how to use them. We've experienced them together, and there's a lot of power in experiencing something together, all being new at it, or almost all of us new at it, right? And having it be okay that nobody is an expert, but that we're all there to support each other. So we're all taking risks and offering support to one another. Okay, so I've done a lot of talking. There's one thing I didn't tell you though, and that's, I just have to put in a plug for trauma-informed culturally responsive teaching. If you're interested at all, I just have to tell you that I've seen really positive results from using this approach. I've seen that students see an increase in their motivation to learn. They talk about feeling inspired to learn more and to study harder. Their confidence is up, their attendance is improved, they participate more, and they report a positive sense of self, an increased ability to cope, and for some people, improved mood. So thank you all for listening, and I'm happy to take questions or comments. Let me stop screen sharing and I'll go to the chat. Okay, great. Do you end up including students' ideas into class on a regular basis going forward? Yes, I do. I'm glad you said that. I do. Part of my approach to teaching is that we share power. So I'm looking for students to give me input and feedback, give me their ideas. I tell them, this is your class. We have a lot of flexibility what we do. And I want to know from you what you need, what you want, what you think, what's going to be helpful to you. Another way that I share power, and this is part of culturally responsive teaching and trauma-informed teaching, is I have a student advisory council. So we had elections. It was right before, before the presidential election this year. Students had to run for office for this position of being on the Student Advisory Council. And all they had to do was say why they wanted to be on it. And then if they had their own vote plus one other person voting for them, then they were on the council. So I meet once a week with my Student Advisory Council, and they give me what they're hearing from other students. You know, like, I think we need more homework. I think we need this. They give input, and then I also give them extra time. It's sort of a way to mentor them. It's a way to get their feedback, their ideas. I give them more responsibility. And it's something that I learned from another conference you might want to incorporate. Okay, so I see, thank you. We have about 5 minutes. I'm going to try to end on time for sure. 5 more minutes. Okay. What else do we have for questions? Would students have to be able to proofread their own presentation materials? Yes, I would. The teacher would go over the materials with them and say, okay, I mean, it's not that the students send the materials to the teacher and have them proofread it. It's that the teacher goes into the breakout room and goes over the slides with them and says, okay, well, what do you think about this verb? I'm wondering what you mean about this, and works with the group. So it's really a group effort for what they're going to present. And it's not one person's slides. It's really a combination. So the teacher can work with them and help them to see what they need to correct to make their lesson clearer and more accurate. How much time did you allot for the module start to finish? Breakout rooms. Okay. Well, because it's non-credit, we can take forever if we want to. Okay. So what I do every day is I structure my class with welcome, a warm up, sometimes pronunciation practice, asking if they did the optional homework, checking in about anything that needs to be done today, going over the agenda. We always have a time for breakout rooms. So I spent, let's see, probably about 3 weeks of giving them time in breakout rooms. I teach Monday through Thursday. So I would give them, for about 3 weeks, I gave them about 35 minutes probably a day to work on this. And my policy is I don't go into breakout rooms unless they ask me to, because I want it to be that they don't have to worry the teacher's going to pop in and overhear them. So I think they like that freedom. They can always ask me for help and I can go join a breakout room if there's a problem, but I let them do their thing. And then when they were ready, then they said, okay, we're going to be ready by Tuesday. And then I would make sure the presentation was good to go. The assistant teacher had checked it and it was fine. And everybody felt in the group felt they were ready. I didn't want anyone to feel rushed or pressured. So when there was one group that had finished, they had already presented, then I gave them something new to work on. Or I asked them, okay, you enjoyed working together. Great. What do you want to do for your next presentation? Or do you want to just discuss a new topic? So I let them continue. So on a different topic in the breakout room while we were waiting for all the other groups to be ready. Let's see. Okay, there is an art of grouping and the zone of proximal development. Yes, for sure. Thank you for your positive feedback that you're feeling inspired. Let's see if there, thank you so much. If there's any other questions, would someone like to unmute and just ask me a question in case I've missed it? Is there a question about this activity, any of the activities, or about the module, or about this approach in teaching? We have another minute if somebody wants to unmute.
Hi, I will ask you a question.
Thank you.
So when you have the students, when the teacher's assistant corrects their work, are the students present so that they can kind of explain like what's going on? And
yeah, exactly. The teacher's in there with them, working with them on, okay, well, I'm wondering what you mean by this, or, is this the verb you really wanted? Because we're in the past tense, or, like really trying to, in a very supportive way, correcting in a way that's really helping them to see what the answer might be. It's certainly never, this is wrong, this is no, this is no. It's really working with them in a supportive way to help them to improve.
Yes, I love that, because then they kind of internalize what's going on. Yeah.
Thank you. Great. Any other questions?
I would like to make a comment, Elizabeth. First of all, thank you so much. That was a great presentation and so inspiring for community building among our ESOL students. So thank you so much. I would like to share one LTI, which is external tool that we can use in our Canvas shell. If you're using Moodle, it can be also used in Moodle. It's called Name Coach. Maybe you've heard about that. So Name Coach provides the pronunciation of all names in your class, which is amazing. And I will maybe quickly, I know I'm just checking the time, but maybe quickly I can just show you this. Can you see my screen now? So this is my signature, and in my signature, you should be able to see Hear My Name option. And this is a part of Name Coach. So when people click on that, they will be able to listen to, I know my name is difficult, especially my last name. And people love this feature because instead of just asking when we meet how to pronounce, they just listen to this. And this is, when this is integrated, Name Coach LTI in your Canvas shell, you can also, like, students can listen to other students' names and they can record their names. So this is a very useful tool, because Elizabeth, I also agree that names are very important and we should value our students' name, right? So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. That's a great resource. I really appreciate that. Okay, well, thank you all for listening, and thank you for your questions and comments. I appreciate the support, and I'm so glad that at least hopefully there was something in here today that you can take and use. And please do feel free to be in touch if you want to discuss any of this further, or you just want to exchange ideas about any of this. Thank you.
Clap, clap. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was amazing. And Dietem, if you don't mind, can you put the link to that resource, the name resource, in the chat?
Yeah, name coach, I will.
Thank you. All right. I was very inspired by Elizabeth's presentation. It was so nice to see so many different ideas that we've seen. Some of them, we've seen before. We know two truths and a lie, but thinking about it from the frame of reference of equity and inclusivity and building communities. So that was great. I went ahead and while she was presenting in like 5 minutes, I just quickly whipped together a quick little activity on ESL Library. So I just wanted to show you guys, they do have a ton of different flashcards, and you can use them for so much more than introducing new vocabulary and reviewing vocab, which is of course great. But I just put together this quick activity using their flashcard function. And someone had asked about how you can do activities for like lower level students. So I just put together a little activity. I like XYZ. And so you could present this to your students over, Zoom or Google Meet or something and say, okay, guys, I want you to write, some things that you like, and then send that to me in a message, or they could do this, as homework in a previous day. And then you can create this presentation like I did in a couple minutes. And you could say, okay, guys, I like chocolates. Yes or no? Do you think that's true? Yes or no? And so you can, I did 3 things. I like chocolate. I like cats. I like hamburgers. And I just did this very, very simply. So yes or no. But then I could also have it for other students. Oh, Elise likes dogs. Yes or no? And I'm scaffolding a little bit here by dropping the yes or no. Elise likes croissants. Is that true or false? Yes or no? And then you can go on to like, do you like yoga? So anyway, there's so much on there, and because you can customize the text and you can create your own custom sets. This took me, like I said, like 5 minutes. So I just wanted to point out that there's so much you can do. And you have that resource now if you use that 2-month code. So I just wanted to share that idea while I was thinking about it. Let's go ahead and pick the last winner, speaking of ESL Library. And so I'm going to go ahead and drum roll here, choose our last winner. And for the day, that is going to be Yun Xie. Woohoo! All right, I hope I got your name somewhat close. Sorry if I didn't. So I'll go ahead and reach out to you over the chat to make sure I have your email address. And I'm going to hand the floor over to Dietem, who's going to give us a few closing remarks and talk about some exciting opportunities for us.
Hold on, I'm writing congratulations, Jan, in the chat box. Let me finish that.
Okay, perfect.
But I thought we were gonna have a break in between, but if you're not having a break, that's fine. Because I know that I don't want to lose anyone. I'm just checking the participant list. I still see 54. Oh my God, this is amazing. And thank you so much for staying so long. This is really amazing. So I'm just gonna share quickly. I'm not sure if you can see this. Oop. It works?
Yeah, we can see okay, Dietem.
Oh, okay, great. So thank you so much for great presentations. Oh my God, this is so inspiring. And thank you so much for staying so long. So as a reminder, I am the California TESOL Bay Area Chapter Coordinator-elect, and I'm also an ESOL instructor and department co-chair in College of Alameda. Actually, Dr. Popal was co-chair before I became a co-chair, so I'm so proud to do the same thing with him. So I'm also distance education coordinator and online equity trainer in Peralta Community College District. So thank you all for joining the California TESOL Bay Area Chapter Conference today and making time to listen to all these great presenters today. We are all educators and we're all teaching classes, and this is a busy time for all of us. So we really appreciate your time today. I also would like to thank Dr. Popal for his great speech. I always personally find something that I can apply in my teaching from Dr. Popal's insights. So hopefully you will feel the same. So The theme of today's conference was so meaningful as we are experiencing difficult times because of the pandemic. More than a year ago, all our lives transferred into a virtual environment, and some of us have been affected more than others. And we can say that linguistically and culturally diverse population came at the top of this list, who have been affected the most. And as our keynote speaker, Dr. Popal mentioned this morning, right? So as ESOL teachers, we did our best to close the gap this digital divide created and worked harder to make the education more accessible for our student population. But it wasn't an easy job though, right? Because most of our students did not grow up with this technology, or even if they did, they needed to share the technological devices in their homes with the other members of their family. And it was a big, big challenge, right? So this situation created a big equity gap among all students and leaving ESOL's student population behind. So what can we do? I'd like to introduce a great source that you can use in your course design, and it is called Peralta Online Equity Rubric. The name is Online Equity Rubric, but actually you can use it in your face-to-face classes as well. So I'm not going to go over, of course, because of timing, I'm not going to go over all the criteria in the rubric, but I would like to just quickly mention a few things that was mentioned in this Online Equity Rubric. And I'm going to share the link in the chat box. So the first one is technology. So when we talk about technology and ESOL population, of course, the first thing comes to mind is what? Digital divide, right? Because of the reasons I just mentioned. So this criterion in the rubric supports the idea that technology requirements should be explained clearly in the syllabus, or in your, if you have orientation module, in your orientation module. And also guidance should be provided about like how to use this technology. So for example, if you create an assignment with some requirements like complete your assignment in a Google Doc and attach an image at the top and save it as a PDF and submit it via Canvas. Oops, what happens? You lose your students. So because you're talking about Google Doc, you're talking about attaching an image, and you're talking about like saving it as PDF. So all these things sometimes might be too much for our students, right? So what can we do? The basic thing we can do is to provide guidance and explanation about how to do all these things. Please don't assume that they know what they're expected to do, because they're you know, many students don't even know what Google Doc is. So
hey, Dita, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Do you mind clicking the share button to see if it'll make it a little bit bigger for us?
Yeah, of course, of course. This one, you mean?
Yeah, perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
And the other things, okay, what happened? Am I still sharing?
You're still sharing, but it went out of share mode. That's okay. It's no problem.
Okay. Let me try again.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think if you click on the slideshow and turn it into a slideshow, that you will get a bigger screen.
Okay, can you say it again?
Yeah, on this screen, go up to slideshow, click on slideshow. You have transitions, animations, slideshow at the top.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Click on slideshow, right, and then click over here, play from the start.
Okay. Oh, okay. It worked as well.
Yeah, that will help. Yeah, then you just have to click
I
ahead.
think my first slide, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Let
me quickly explain the second one, which is student resources. So this is another important thing because student resources don't exist in all cultures, right? In some cultures, we don't have campus resources that students can go back and refer to, right? So it's very important for ESOL students to be explained what they are. So for example, we're talking about DSPS, right? So they may not know what it is. So in your syllabus or in your Canvas shell, or if you're using Moodle shell, please explain what student resources are and how students can get benefit out of them, right? Because many cultures don't have these sources, and they're free and they should go use them, right? Last thing I want to mention, as you see, there are 8 criteria, but I'll just go jump into E5, which is images and representation, because we are all teaching online and we are using, images from different sources. And sometimes we don't have time to think about the image we choose to use in our classes. It can be for presentation slides, or it can be your Canvas shell, but please think of the images. Do you think they are underrepresenting some population, or maybe they are not representing at all, or maybe misrepresenting some population? So please take another look and think twice before you use an image in your class. So this is very important. Sometimes it can be age, sometimes it can be race, sometimes it can be maybe a gender, right? So it's very important to think of the images we will be using in our classes and make sure that people or students feel represented. So let me check. Oh, so this is all quick reminder about Peralta Online Equity rubric. I'm going to put the rubric in the chat box so that you will have a chance to use it in your own class. And also, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, because I'm also an online equity trainer. So I will be happy to help if you have any questions with that. So the last thing is reminder I would like to share with you. So Bay Area chapter board nominations are open now. So please feel free to nominate yourself. So self-nominations close on May 10th. And so you can, if you want to, you can just fill out the form. It's a very simple form, and I'm going to put it in the chat box now. You can just go and fill out the form and nominate yourself for become a board member for Bay Area chapter. And voting will begin in mid-May, and then handoff meetings for new board will be in July 2021. And I'm looking at Tammy because I'm just checking the timeline is correct, right, Tammy?
Yeah, that's right. And I can, right after you finish, I can show what the presentation or what that form looks like and share my screen. I'm going to put the link in there for you in the chat, Dietem.
Okay, thank you so much. And the other thing I have, do I have another thing? Oh, no. Okay, that's all I have to share. Thank you so much for staying this long. And thank you for the presenters. Thank you, Dr. Popal. And thank you, everyone. It was great to listen to you all. It was so inspiring. And we hope to keep in touch. Hopefully, please feel free to share your email addresses in the chat box. So hope to see you soon again.
All right. And just, I really want to underscore that we cannot do events like this without support. It's a small team of us that are doing this, and it doesn't really need to be a lot of work. We meet virtually about once a month or once every other month, depending on what's going on. Obviously, preparing for events like this, we do a little bit more meeting together, but it's the little tiny bits of support from everyone that really makes a difference. So this is what the nomination form will look like. If you yourself are completely unable to participate, or it's just, you've done this before, you're doing other things, that's great. Thanks for all the support you've given. Let another educator that you know about this opportunity. So we're a small, very engaged group and community, and we would love to have you join us starting this summer to help us put on other events and educate other people. Thanks everyone for joining us today. And we'll be sending an email out afterwards with a link to the recording and as well for the PDFs and then the information with the code in case you didn't have a chance to enter yourselves for the ESL Library 2-month access.
All right, so let me say thank you to everybody. For those of you who have joined us, it's my pleasure to be seeing you all and to be working with my great team. This is not a one-man show. I feel very much privileged that I have the great team. And as you know, it's not easy to put up this kind of event. It's just a small event, but sometimes small is not that really small. Big things come from small packages. But I just want to say that I have been a member of TESOL, which is the biggest organization of English language teachers here in the United States for about 18 years. And I thought that the easiest way for me or the better way for me to actually serve English language teachers is to start from the smallest community, which is the Bay Area chapter that we have. So it's our love for profession. We are here today. Today's Saturday. We're supposed to be enjoying our weekend, but we are doing this because of our love for the profession. And thank you very much, Dr. Popal, for inspiring us and for making us the best educators that we could be.